Finance and Warrant Commission to order. I'll grant permission to the Westwood Media Center to record the meeting. Is there anyone else that wishes to record the meeting? Seeing no, we will continue with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Bill Bruce.
Here.
Mike Gay.
Here.
Alex Yale.
Here.
Angela Hughes.
Here.
Christine Cannon.
Here.
Chris Marks. Chris Pareda.
Here.
George Laham.
Here.
Margaret Driscoll. Mike Powers.
Here.
Paul Bamford.
Here.
Paula McLaughlin.
Here.
Ryan Sturma.
Here.
Seth Fredrickson.
Here.
Susan Flanagan Cahill.
Here.
And Margaret Driscoll. Here. Yeah, planning board.
All right. Just from a chair's update perspective, I'll not bore you with an hour-long conversation. I don't think you're all here to listen to me. But I will lay some ground rules for this meeting and lay out the agenda for all of you, since I'm not sure everyone has been at one of our meetings before. So next up, the Planning Board Chair, Ellen Rawlings, as well as Nora, our Director of Community and Economic Development, Amanda, our Housing and Land Use Planner, will come up. They're going to give the Finance and Warrant Commission an update relative to the Planning Board. They will also open their meeting. We will walk through their information, and then they will have public comment relative to their meeting only, not to the public hearing. Then we will move into the public hearing on the warrant articles. The petitioner will come up and speak to the articles to FinCom. The FinCom will have a chance as we go through each article to ask questions. When the FinCom is complete, then we will open up for public comment. Public comment will be limited to 2 minutes so that everyone gets a chance to speak. We ask that you direct any commentary to the FinCom. We ask that you're respectful of one another. There's a lot of people in this room, so be respectful, listen, and we look forward to hearing the conversation later. So with that, Ellen, Nora, I'll let you guys take center stage.
Looks like we do have a quorum, so I need to call our meeting to order. I hereby call the January 13th 2026 meeting of the Planning Board to order. Maureen? Phil?
Here.
I am here as well. Okay. All right, well, thank you for having us. I will begin the presentation. This is something that we've done about every 2 years for several years going back. The Finance and Warrant Commission has asked for an information session on what the Department of Community and Economic Development does and what the Planning Board does. So we last did this, I believe, in October or November in 2024. So we're here again to give you a similar presentation. First, just what is the Department of Community and Economic Development? We have several different divisions or work areas within that department, including economic development, geographic information systems, also known as GIS, historic preservation, building, planning, housing, conservation, zoning, licensing, and health. The Department of Community and Economic Development provides assistance to several elected and appointed boards. Among those are the Planning Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA, the Conservation Commission, the Board of Health, the Housing Partnership, the Fair Housing Committee, the Westwood Historical Commission, the Alcohol Review Committee, and the Land Use Committee. Those last two boards are internal boards that just inform staff members. This is a chart showing how the department is set up. The Select Board appoint the town administrator, who appoints my position, the Director of Community and Economic Development, and then there are several staff members within that department representing different divisions. We have the building commissioner overseeing the building division. He has administrative specialists as well as inspectors. We have the zoning and licensing agents, who is responsible for being the administrative staff to the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have a GIS specialist, which was actually moved from the IT department to the Department of Community and Economic Development in this current fiscal year. We have a conservation agent who's responsible to the Conservation Commission, a town planner who's responsible to the Fair Housing Committee, and has a staff member, Amanda, who is our Housing and Land Use Committee, and she reports to the Housing Partnership and Fair Housing Committee. And then we have the Health Director, who oversees a food inspector sanitarian, a public food nurse, and a public health nurse, and an administrative assistant, and they all staff the Board of Health. And then everybody within the department reports to the Land Use Committee as well, which also brings in other town departments, police, fire, and DPW. There's one other board, two other boards, I guess, the Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committee, which is also informed by the Planning Division, and then we have the Alcohol Review Committee, which has representatives from the department that report to that committee, who then makes recommendations to the select board. So essentially, the staff handle anything related to land use in Westwood. Samples of recent projects that have been completed: 24M lithium-ion research and development facility on Dartmouth Street, Chase Bank on University Avenue, Verizon Wireless at Gables on University Avenue, a new dental office on University Avenue, Mercedes of Westwood's recent expansion on Providence Highway, Beth Israel Deaconess added a generator at Wilson Way, Lords and Ladies Hair Salon opened at 190 Washington Street, Crane Accounting and Law Offices, another new business on Washington Street, Benone Hair Salon and Westwood Medical Aesthetics were reviewed and opened on High Street. Coldwell Banker recently moved its offices across the street on High Street. That had to have review by the department as well. Then we had a couple of projects at the high school. One is for electric vehicle charging stations. Another is a solar canopy project. Temple Beth David recently had a sign replacement. St. Mark's Church did some work on their building. And then we had some planning projects. The Climate Action Resiliency and Sustainability Plan was completed in 2024. We have zoning amendments that pretty much are complete every year, including in 2025, and there are some upcoming ones. And then we have the annual alcohol and CV license renewals. All of those are handled by the department. Just a few active projects that we're in the midst of right now. On University Avenue, we're working on the Home 2 Hotel project. That's going into construction now. They broke ground in December. We have a business called Wonder that's looking to go into the former Panera Bread space at University Station. Dedham Westwood Water District is working on a PFAS facility on their University Avenue complex. And then there's the Dana-Farber Proton Therapy Facility, which we're still tracking and hoping that we hear is going to start up soon. Nothing new on that. In Islington Center, some development projects. The Block mixed-use building on Everett Street had its Phase 1 opening I think that was in November. It was either November or December. And mixed-use residential office building at 436 Washington Street also recently opened up. Central Motors Automobile Dealership received approval to move into the former Progressive site on Everett Street last month, and we have a new child care facility that's looking to go in at 260 Washington Street. On this side of town, we have the Fire Station 1 project with a location yet to be determined that is in the process of being designed. And we have the Obed Baker House mixed-use redevelopment at 909 High Street. Just a couple of others. We have Zvarian is proposing 3 additions to its building. That's under review, with the next review coming up on January 20th at a planning board meeting. We have another project by the Dedham Westwood Water District. They're building a new pumping station at 1446 High Street. The board is working on zoning bylaw and general bylaw amendments. They're also reviewing the housing production plan, which was produced by the Housing Partnership and is going forward to the planning board and the select board for adoption. And then the planning board and the department also work on comprehensive plan implementation actions. Our plan was last updated in 2020, and we review different divisions, departments, and boards and committees' responsibilities under that plan, pretty much on a semi-annual basis. Then we have the Climate Action Resiliency and Sustainability Plan, a new plan that we're also looking at the implementation actions. Then I will turn it over to Ellen to talk a little bit about the planning board.
I'm going to do my best here. So I apologize if I'm not coming through. So just a brief overview per the charter. Planning board of 5 members shall be elected for 3-year overlapping terms. Members shall serve without compensation. It's just what our purpose is. Well, it defines what our function is. The board shall meet regularly and shall maintain a public record of its proceedings, resolutions, and determinations. Planning board shall be responsible for the general, physical, economic, and environmental planning of the town under the general laws, this charter, and the town bylaws. So that's basically what our charge, our purview is. Is it just this button? Yes. Okay. So we just wanted to come to you and give you a very high-level overview of the 10 potential 2026 warrant articles that we're kind of exploring for the spring town meeting. We've only kicked off our public hearing process at our meeting last week, so the language is nowhere near final. The list is nowhere near final. We would not be adding anything, but we may not move all of these forward. We'd love some feedback. So very high level. The first one we're looking at is an article about battery energy storage systems, or BESS. I don't know if anyone drives down towards 495 on 109, but there is one that's gone in over there, and it's kind of a large-scale battery backup. It's just hundreds of these battery backups that if the town has a power outage, you can plug into it and kind of run the town. They don't seem to make any noise, but we're starting to see projects in other communities where either municipalities or businesses are wanting to put these in. So we thought it made sense to at least look at some definitions and some, like, how do we define what a BESS is, and where would we like to potentially allow them, and where would we maybe not want to allow them. I think there will be more work for us to do later, but the state is still finalizing its bylaws and guidelines around these, so we don't want to go too far down that road, but we do believe it's prudent to at least start that process with some definitions at this time. Should we just take questions after each one? Does that work
Hey,
for
you
you?
guys have any questions? Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
You guys have any questions?
Okay. Second,
So you're anticipating that this is going to come before us in the next, few weeks?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, it sounds like there's more work that you're doing to figure this out. And so, we'll look forward to kind of understanding where you are on that.
Right. We had originally considered doing something more comprehensive at this time, but given that the state has not put a pin in what they want to do yet, we decided to not go too far down, but to just do a high-level
Understood.
article on that.
Okay.
The second one we are proposing.
Question.
Yes,
Question.
Sorry, just
sorry.
one question. Is this a town's appetite to put in a BESS system, or just planning for if the request comes to the town for
The
a
latter.
resident or a business to use that? Okay.
The latter. We tend to, it's optimal to have a definition of what something is in our bylaws before someone asks to do it. So we're trying to be proactive. And also the idea of in some circumstances, if you don't specifically say where something can go, the argument could be made that it could go anywhere. So it's a benefit to the town to really be specific if there are places we would not think were appropriate for something like that, to really be specific about where we would like to see it and where we wouldn't. Any other questions at this time around that? I don't want to zoom through.
Chris?
Yes.
Amanda first?
Chris, do you have a question?
Just to follow up on what you said about making sure that we make sure that people put what we want where we want it. On January 1st, the state is now allowing cannabis cafes. Is there any talk at the planning board to define where we would allow them and where we would not allow them?
So our bylaw already has provisions about recreational marijuana use, and I believe the cafes would fall under that, but we can do a run-through to make sure that's the case. Right now, recreational marijuana establishments are prohibited in Westwood.
Thank you.
Do you have a follow-on?
Yeah, I was just gonna clarify that the BESS bylaw would cover all tiers of these, so that includes even small-scale batteries in people's garages, which already exists in Westwood. Right now, people pursue an electrical permit to get that, so it's not just the large scale, it's regulating the whole spectrum of options.
Anything else on the BESS systems at this time? Okay. The second one we're looking at is around the limits on number of attendees at the adult daycare facilities. We currently only have one, and it's capped at, what, 20 attendees? And there's interest, because there is a need, there's interest in adjusting that. So we're currently, where did we land? We're currently proposing 30?
Up to 30.
Up to 30. There's still oversight through the licensing process on that, but we do have kind of an arbitrary cap in the bylaw when it was created however many years ago. So we're looking at adjusting that to reflect the actual need.
Can I ask, when you say up to 30, is that at the existing place or to do somewhere else that will do an additional 10?
So right now, our bylaw says that adult daycare facilities are permitted in residential zones only, and only permitted up to 20
Okay.
participants, and this would change that use to say they're permitted still, I believe, in residential zones, but up to 30.
Okay, so it's for any, if a new one comes?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's currently, I believe, only permitted, as Nora said, as an accessory use, so the primary use of the structure would still need to be a residence.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we have any provisions for it, like a business somewhere.
I mean, I would imagine that with the aging population, there's a real need for that.
Agreed. Any other questions around the adult daycare at this time? I'm sure there'll be more later.
No.
Okay. The next article we are looking at is around the use of animal daycare. We've had an ask from a couple of businesses and some residents about allowing animal daycare in the local business B, the local business A, and the highway business districts, which is basically Route 1, Islington Center, and the 109 Center. There are a couple of pet grooming facilities there already, and I think the desire was to offer the opportunity for people to leave their pets there all day. It currently is not an allowed use. So we're still at very high level talking about that, but open to any feedback, questions, thoughts.
I'm sorry, you say it's currently not allowed?
Correct.
So what's the one on Route 1 down in Lambert Plaza?
So that one, it's in the highway business district, where they're entitled to apply for a commercial kennel license. And they did that. So they have both a pet care facility and a commercial kennel at that location. The two that are in local business districts don't have that ability because a commercial kennel is not permitted in a local business district. So there's a little bit of a
Nuance, yeah.
striation between the three businesses in town.
Okay.
So the board is looking to see if they can close that loop.
And from my perspective, like daycare would be a different tier than a kennel anyway. They might not be doing overnight boarding, and it's a different process, I think. So that was brought to us by residents and the businesses who were interested in being able to offer that.
Margaret, did you have a question?
How does that affect the people that in a private home may take in dogs for the day? Does that fall into a different category, or is that covered if someone took in 4 or 5 dogs?
I don't believe that's allowed without a commercial kennel license. And you cannot have a commercial kennel license except for, I believe, in the highway business district, and I believe the industrial district, but I can find out more information about that.
So there's a distinction between animal daycare and kennel?
Yes.
There is.
Okay. Any other questions on that this time? Excellent. Okay, so the next one is definitions. We last few years, we've had some definitions where we've been asked by the building commissioner to clarify, sometimes via illustration, sometimes by tightening up the language. And this year, it's in, I don't want to misspeak on this. Do you have the language?
I do. I have several definitions we're looking at right now, and there could be others that are added as the board continues its hearing. The first is expanding the definition of alterations, and the specific change is to make sure that it also includes, language as applied to a site any material change in materials, grading, landscaping, circulation, or other material factor determined by the building commissioner to result in an altered site. So it just kind of just gives more clarifying language to explain how the building commissioner currently determines whether something is an alteration or not. Another definition the board is considering changing is the definition for temporary structure. And here, there would be a specific note within the definition of temporary structure to include a pod or storage container which is not associated with an ongoing construction project operating under a valid building permit. So if you're doing a construction project on your home, you might bring a pod into your driveway to handle the room contents while you're doing the renovation project. But if the project is done and that pod stays there indefinitely without a project going on, it is now considered a temporary structure. And you're then required to obtain a temporary building permit from the town for that structure, and you're limited to a certain period of time when you can keep that. It's to prevent some areas where pods have appeared and stayed for years and years in people's yards. Another definition that's proposed to have a change is motor vehicle light service. So right now that is the category that's used for all gas stations in town. And there was a request for a EV charger state, essentially a fueling station, but it's an EV charging station. And right now, it falls under motor vehicle light service, which is only allowed in certain districts, and those districts are, it's only allowed by special permit in certain districts, and there are provisions that prevent it from being in areas that are water resource area concern. So an EV charging station does not have the same concerns that a fuel charging station would have, so we want to address them differently in the bylaw. So we're separating out EV charging stations from motor vehicle light service. And then there are several categories of definitions that go along with that: accessory electric vehicle charging station, electric vehicle charging station, electric vehicle for pay charging station as well. So those are the definitions that are currently under review, but there may be others. We're hearing from the building commissioner about definitions that are of concern.
Thank you. Any questions or comments around those thus far? Excellent. Along a similar vein, dimensional regulations, that's another change that we've been asked to look at by the building commissioner. There's been a part of the bylaw historically that, it had been open to interpretation, and he asked us if we could tighten up the language so that it is in line with his interpretation of what that language is meant to be. May I borrow this specific? Because I don't have it committed to memory yet. It's around the building height, the vertical distance from the grade plane to the average height of the highest roof surface. There's been some different interpretations from architects around that. So we've been asked to just clarify that to make it clear, the height of any portion of a building or structure which is permitted within any setback area pursuant to notes 4 and 5, section 5.3, shall be determined by a measurement of the actual dimension from grade to the highest point of the portion of the building or structure within the setback area.
So that specifically pertains to where you're allowed to build an addition to your home within the setback area. Say your setback is supposed to be, your side setback is supposed to be 20 feet. You can go up to 15 feet as long as the height of the part you extend into that is no higher than 15 feet. And there's the building commissioner determines that the actual height of the portion of the building, measured from grade to the highest point of that portion that falls within the setback, has to be no higher than 15 feet. And he's distinguishing that from the average height of the whole building. And so that it's a question that has come up, and there's actually an appeal of a building commissioner decision that's going before the zoning board tomorrow night on how that has been interpreted. So we want to make sure the language is prepared for clarification so we don't come into that problem again.
Yes, did I see a hand? Oh, no, I thought I saw a hand. Any questions or comments on that article at this time?
It's not a question, it's more of a preface to what you're going to come in and talk to about it when the actual article is written. I want to understand a little bit of the historical impact and examples of where this was actually counterproductive to what the town wants versus is this more restrictive and it's something that maybe is an overstep.
That came up at our meeting too, and I think we're on the same page that we would like to look at some concrete examples to better assess the potential impacts of making these changes. So thank you. And yes, we can come back with that next time, because hopefully we will have discussed it as a board in that context by then as well. Any other questions or comments about that one?
Just a little plug to the planning board meetings. If you haven't watched one, please watch them. They're incredibly informative, and get some popcorn because they aren't as quick as FinCom meetings.
They're longer?
Maybe not tonight, but they
Okay.
are longer, yeah.
Okay, so the next article we're looking at is around administrative office research, also known as the ARO district. That's an overlay district that actually applies to 2 areas. It's a zoning district that applies to 2 areas. There's the area that everyone knows as the Meditech property, and then there's the area that most people would call Fox Hill Village. There's an office building and whatnot there. Well, it's administrative office research. It's got, to be as terse as possible, there's a bunch of allowed uses currently. There was a lot of talk about the Meditech property in particular last year, and wanting to make sure that that property, if it were to ever go up for sale, to try and ensure that it remained commercial property for our tax base. So we are looking at what are the currently allowed uses? Are there uses that we don't believe are beneficial to the town at that location? Are there uses we'd like to add or incentivize? Are there uses that are already allowed but perhaps have multiple levels of oversight to get through the process? So we're really doing a comprehensive review of all of the uses in that use table to try and incentivize the highest and best use of those properties, because the Meditech property in particular is a significant amount of land. To our knowledge, nobody's looking to sell anything at this time, but we're trying to think ahead.
If I could just also add, we're also looking at screening and buffering
Yes.
requirements in the ARO. They currently apply to other districts, the industrial district, the highway business district, even the local business districts. But for some reason, they were never put in place for the ARO.
And that came up last year too, when there was talk of maybe something happening there, particularly at Meditech, where there's a residential neighborhood right there. We want to make sure that we codify buffers, screening, things like that, to be consistent with the rest of our bylaws, but also to be sensitive to neighbors and abutters to all of those properties. Thank you. Any questions or comments on that at this time? All right. The next zoning bylaw is also related to the general bylaw amendment that we're looking at, so I can just take them together. We had been contacted by some residents. This came up a few years ago too, when there was an Airbnb situation in one particular neighborhood, and it sparked some conversation around, are we regulating, should we be regulating? And at that time, the town opted not to pursue that. But it's come up again, and many of our neighbors and municipalities across the state have started looking into, and already do regulate to varying degrees. There's levels of oversight for short-term rentals like Airbnbs and Vrbo. So very quickly, what we're kind of talking about, for us, it would be a 2-pronged approach. Through the zoning bylaws, we would want to define what is a short-term rental, how, what is the criteria that makes it short-term versus another kind of rental. And then via the general bylaw amendments, and this is where we haven't quite landed on what we want to propose and how much, but there's been some requests for everything from just a level of Board of Health oversight or some sort of regulation to make sure that these properties are being maintained, or perhaps a residency requirement so that you don't have an LLC coming in and buying up houses and then just basically running a business without going through the process to run a business. We haven't quite landed on how much or how little we want to do, and I think we would appreciate feedback and input on this in particular. Yes.
So I have mixed, strong emotions on this. Being a resident of the town of Westwood for a few years, Westwood is not historically a lot of apartments. Nobody vacations in Westwood. But my first is a financial question. When a hotel in Westwood comes in, there is a tax, and part of that tax comes to the town. At an Airbnb, it's effectively a rental like a hotel. So would we generate taxes or a portion of that tax? That's the first question. And second, would there be areas of the town that it would be allowed in, or would it not be allowed? I mean, what is the term, nimbus?
NIMBYism.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm the poster child for that. I mean, I wouldn't want it in my backyard, but, you know, I live in Islington, everything happens in Islington, so, you know, I would ask, what zones is it gonna take place in?
So to address the revenue side of things, so right now, under state law, if you have a short-term rental, you do have to register with the state. And any municipality can opt into up to 6% tax rate on that, which Westwood has done. I defer specifics around that to finance, of course. And there are additional fees that a community can opt into above that 6%. So the town does collect from the existing short-term rentals at this point in time. There's just no mention of it in the bylaw.
So it would probably take place going forward if there are additional short-term rentals were to take place?
You're saying the additional fees, or?
The same fees just on all rentals?
Yeah, so the fees already apply. They changed the law in 2019 to apply to short-term rentals.
Those fees are collected when a short-term rental is registered. If it's not registered,
But, yeah.
there's no tax being paid.
And the second part of the question?
Well, as far as I know right now, with no regulation, anyone could be running an Airbnb if they choose to, or Vrbo if they choose to register it. So to your point, kind of like what we were saying about the BESS systems, if there's areas that we don't necessarily feel it's appropriate to continue to allow these, that's where the oversight comes in. I think I believe we could change the bylaws to only allow them in certain areas, because some communities have even gone so far as to ban them. I don't know that we want to do that, but I do believe that means we would be within our rights to try and regulate where they go. We'd have to look at that. I don't know if there's anything that would prevent us from doing that, but I'm sensitive to your point. I think it's a good one, but as of right now, you could have one next door, and there's nothing preventing that. Yes.
How many do we have in the neighborhood?
Unclear. When
From
it
a
came,
tax,
They're
from a
not
tax
registered.
perspective, how much have we collected?
that's a good question.
There's no way of knowing
Yeah.
that, because when we receive our hotels and meals tax, we
It's all
receive a
lumped in.
lumped
Oh.
amount. So there's no way of us knowing where it actually comes from and in what amounts. If you do a scan of Airbnb and similar websites, you'll find a small smattering. It's very few, fewer than a dozen, I would say.
Yeah, that was my sense, 10 or so, doing a quick search.
Chris?
I recall that discussion a couple of years ago, and at that time, the question that most of the commission brought up was that, is there a problem? And since at that time we couldn't find a problem, that was one of the reasons why we didn't go forward, or we didn't push you to go forward. I think the biggest and most problematic issue is defining
Right.
what it is to be a short-term rental. No matter what number you pick, it's always arbitrary.
Right.
Right, so, and I agree with George, I don't want a hotel next to me, which is essentially what you described. Somebody comes in, buys a property for the purpose of only renting it out short-term through Airbnb or Vrbo. So, I don't want that next to me.
And I don't know how often that's happening here. I know that has happened in more, for lack of a better word, kind of touristy areas, which is why I think I thought about maybe a residency requirement, not owner occupied, or you have to own another home in Westwood that you live in, not just another one that you've purchased, but we haven't gone too far, but these are all good comments. Thank you.
I'll just say that, many people here are either owners of a home down the Cape that rent their house and are very familiar with the Cayman Islands tax, or they rent a property in a destination location, and they're paying these taxes. So, I would just want to understand, again, the problem, what are we trying to solve? If they can already do it, and now we're putting more regulation and oversight on it, that interests me.
Right.
And it sounds like we're probably solving a future potential problem, as opposed to, we're not getting, you're not getting inundated with complaints that there is, rental activity that's problematic.
not inundated. I think there's some concern, and what's been communicated to me as well is, particularly ahead of the World Cup coming up, there was some concern that we might see an uptick, even if it's temporarily, but that might be a situation that might cause a little bit more boisterous rentals. So that the sense I get now is there aren't huge problems, but there was enough interest and concern to ask us to try and plan ahead a little bit.
Makes sense.
So,
Yeah, to your point of the World Cup, I was with the Westwood's, train station there. I know Westwood isn't a destination, but the World Cup's going to be bringing people from everywhere. And I've heard several people, not several, but a few people who have the Cape houses say, I'm going to be down the Cape, so why not make some money? And I said, I don't think Airbnb's allowed in Westwood, because I really thought that we didn't allow it. But, so I don't think that it's unreasonable to think that somebody from wherever in the world is, going to look at a map and say, oh, that looks like a good place, there's a train, let's go there. So I think you're smart to get ahead of it, although we don't have much time.
That was gonna be my next comment, is when would this be enacted, just because
at the Springtown meeting, if people were to, if the town so voted, then it would go into effect once the AG approved whatever we put forward. So by the end of the year,
Yeah, it would be ahead
relatively
of the World
quickly.
Cup.
Yeah,
No,
Or
behind it.
Alex.
in June.
Oh, June, sorry.
Yeah. Alex?
Yeah, I was just asking about that state registration that you mentioned with VRBO and Airbnb. Is that required if you list a property on, are you automatically triggered that you must have a state identification number, which then hits the tax that we get? Or is it like, if you have a state number, put it here, if not, proceed forward? I don't know.
We're not sure. And there's also other less popular platforms that do this, so we don't know how each of them are regulating who they're allowing to rent using their platform. I do know on the state level, there's been a lot more guidance released on short-term rentals from different perspectives, including building and how to inspect and what inspections are subject to. So yeah, I think it's an area the state recognizes as maybe not fully resourced, and we're starting to see that shift.
So as the,
How does the
I'm
state
familiar.
define short-term rental?
So, they have, I don't remember it verbatim off the top of my head, but there's criteria such as, it doesn't apply to people that are tenancy at will, meaning they rent month to month but don't have a lease agreement. It doesn't apply to anyone with a lease agreement. Usually the definition is 31 days, but even that varies, but that seems to be the popular one. But yeah, there's,
What you're saying is it's not just pick a number.
individual towns make their own definitions, those that choose to regulate it, and as the planning board reviews how other towns handle this and decides whether or not they think it's worth bringing something forward, another point of information that we'll ask the planning board to consider is the cost to the town of the regulation and the enforcement.
Just to answer your question, it's a requirement.
Okay.
If you want to participate on Airbnb, it's a requirement. You can't get through and list your listing without being registered with the state and having a license number, and it takes a period of time, and you pay a fee to participate.
So at present, you would assume that we are getting revenue for any bookings, though they might be few and far
Absolutely.
between
I would-
that
yeah.
occur in town. Okay.
If it's being marketed on a platform,
Right.
if somebody's doing it privately without any kind of platform assistance, then I don't know how you would. But
Thank you. Any other discussion at this time around short-term rentals? This is all very helpful, by the way, thank you. We like the early feedback, because now we can take this back to our next meeting. Okay, indoor commercial recreation. So this is a use that's actually already allowed in our use tables, and we've heard that there's a desire in town to try and encourage or incentivize someone or some entity to pursue a indoor commercial recreation facility. So what we're looking at now is pretty straightforward. In the use table now, it's kind of a two-pronged process. You have to go to the zoning board of appeals first and get the use approved, and then you come to the planning board for the rest of the review and the design and all of that. We're just proposing changing it from special permit via the zoning board to just come straight to the planning board, so that it's kind of a one-stop, because we would have to evaluate the rest of the project anyway. So that's fairly straightforward in what we're looking to do with a very large-sounding bylaw name. But we'd love thoughts on that, if
So
anyone
that would
has.
essentially make it less cumbersome
Yes.
for somebody, so thereby encouraging
And less costly, it'd be
indoor.
another set of permits they don't have to apply for.
One application, but it's still a special permit, so
Yes.
still under the same section of the bylaw and the same findings that would have to be made.
Right.
I mean,
An
I think a lot
example.
of people would love more fields in town.
Examples are like pickleball, that's what I'm thinking. Is that aligned or is that not?
You wish.
Is
Yes,
that not?
yeah, it could be an indoor soccer or basketball facility.
Or it could be a multi, or even like the skating club of Boston would count. Almost anything you could imagine is
Golf
indoor
simulation.
recreation. Yeah, exactly. But we've heard from lots of folks that they're interested in trying to convince an entity to bring something like that to Westwood. So we figured this was a relatively straightforward and small, but hopefully meaningful change we could propose.
And then last is just housekeeping.
Yes.
Yeah, just the normal.
We don't need to go into the details,
Yeah.
right?
Surprised at how many things are in there.
Yep.
Yes.
Find errors all the time.
Well, let me ask a question about that. Last year, I think it was in relation to the then proposed rebuild of Fire Station 1, the planning board briefly proposed not to apply the town zoning bylaw to municipal projects,
That was actually the select board that proposed that, not the planning board.
okay? Thank you for that correction. But it raised an interesting question in my mind. Is there discussion amongst the planning board to exempt municipal projects generally and then apply them by special permit, piece by piece?
That's not a currently advertised warrant article, so the planning board is not planning to pursue that for this town
I'm
meeting.
suggesting that you probably should.
They've already advertised and opened their warrant article hearing, so I think we're running out of time at this point, but if the board is interested in doing that, we could find a source for another advertisement and try and fold that in.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from you all? And
No,
no?
I think so.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is not our public hearing, so we.
Oh.
Oh, you don't have to?
Yeah, we
Oh,
don't.
okay, sorry.
You have to close.
I just have to
To close
adjourn
your
our
meeting, no.
meetings because we did open a meeting. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you coming. Yeah, it's fine. I'd like to invite Aaron Sibley up to speak to the warrant articles relative to the February 2nd meeting. Aaron is the petitioner of the 4 warrant articles. So Aaron is the petitioner, can walk through one by one, questions for FinCom. You don't have a time limit, but, you know,
Excellent. Yeah, thank you.
stick to the articles.
Yes. Thank you. I would first like to begin by thanking this commission for conducting this meeting in person and not by Zoom, and for allowing me to speak. My name is Erin Sibley. I'm the sponsor of the citizens' petition to call a special town meeting. This petition contained the certified signatures of 344 registered Westwood voters. Our petition contains 4 articles, all of which pertain to the town's lawsuit against the Westwood Land Trust regarding future use of conservation land at 665 Clappertree Street. By now, most Westwood residents are aware of the dispute at the heart of this matter. If the commission would like a brief summary, I'm happy to provide one after the warrant articles. I will address each warrant articles in order separately, but first I'd like to speak to the common purpose which they share, because the special town meeting and the warrant articles are about much more than conservation versus agriculture and what happens to the conservation land at 665 Clappertree Street. These warrant articles are about how our town government works and who it is meant to serve. In Westwood, our democratic form of town government is not currently working as it is intended. I became involved in this dispute because I am deeply committed to the following democratic principles of government. Number one, citizens have the right to participate in decision-making. Number two, elected officials are accountable to the public. And number three, the government must act in the best interest of all people and not just a few. I believe that the actions of our select board with respect to the conservation land on Clappertree Street violate all three of these principles. The select board has excluded most Westwood residents from participating in any meaningful way in its decision-making processes, most significantly when it chose to file the lawsuit in July, and again when it chose to reject the donor's offer to end it in August. The overwhelming majority of Westwood residents knew nothing about this dispute until much later, when yard signs began popping up around town around October and November. Since then, Westwood residents have made many unsuccessful attempts to discover what is the valid public interest justification for these decisions in an effort to determine whether this public benefit outweighs the costs of attaining them. It appears to many residents that the select board is using public funds to advance the interests of a private business. It appears to many residents that the select board chose to sue the land trust and to reject the donor's offer to repurchase the land at the behest and for the benefit of the bean farm. The bean farm seems to have exerted a singular amount of influence behind the scenes of this dispute. It seems to enjoy access to information that other residents do not have. It seems to have an expectation that the end result of this process will be to its exclusive and private benefit. Signs around town are asking us to save the bean farm. An agricultural use and conservation plan, which was written by the Beans, is included as part of Exhibit E in the town's legal complaint. The select board denies this, but its failure to put forth a credible alternative justification only serves to further raise public suspicion. In addition, most of us do not accept the select board claims that it is prevented from discussing these matters due to the ongoing litigation, as it is hard to imagine that stating a valid public interest behind its actions would somehow, quote, undermine its legal position or the integrity of the judicial process. Westwood residents deserve honest and transparent public discussion of this dispute. Our community has finite resources and other pressing capital needs, including an unresolved fire station project in Now Thurston Middle School. Our citizens' petition to call a special town meeting was an option of last resort. It is a tool we used only having exhausted all possible avenues to engage in meaningful and constructive discourse with our select board. The select board refuses to hold their public meetings in person. They conduct them via Zoom, where they hide the names and the number of attendees, they hide public comments, and they refuse to show video of speakers other than themselves. Most importantly, they flatly refuse to answer public questions. If the select board were willing to engage in any meaningful public discussion, our citizens' petition and a special town meeting would not be necessary. This select board is so strongly opposed to public engagement with respect to this issue that they hired an outside law firm to legally challenge the validity of our citizens' petition before we had even submitted it. And the select board is so indifferent to public opinion that it has suggested a special town meeting is a waste of time because the votes taken there are not legally binding. Our group easily collected 60% more signatures on our petition than we needed in 1 week on very short notice. So in those terms, we have already succeeded. And yet we have failed to uncover a valid public interest still behind the select board's actions, which would refute the claim that all of this is being done using public funds for the benefit of a private party. Absent a clearly articulated, valid public interest, we believe the select board should drop the lawsuit. We hope that our special town meeting will provide all Westwood residents with an opportunity to participate in a meaningful public discussion so they can vote to provide our select board with a, quote, sense of the meeting regarding its lawsuit against the land trust. A vote in support of these warrant articles is a vote in favor of citizen participation in our democratic government and in favor of honest, transparent, and responsive leadership. Do you have copies of the articles?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Article 1, to see if the town will vote to recommend that the select board, town council, or any duly authorized town official or employee will immediately withdraw, discontinue, excuse me, and cease further pursuit of the town's current lawsuit against the Westwood Land Trust. The purpose of this article is to allow Westwood residents to participate in the public process with respect to future use of the land at 665 Clappertree Street, as envisioned by Chapter 2 of our town charter. This warrant article is intended to restore the balance of power in a checks and balance intended in our town charter. It is vitally important to include citizens and to engage in constructive public debate when making important decisions which affect the entire community. This will produce a consensus end result and a path forward which serves the public interest and has widespread community support. Many residents who signed our petition were undecided with respect to whether or not they support the town's lawsuit against the land trust, but they nevertheless felt strongly that the matter was worthy of public discussion and debate. A vote to approve this article is a vote to allow this public discussion and debate to take place in order to provide the select board with a sense of the meeting regarding its lawsuit against the land trust. A vote to approve this article is not equivalent to taking a personal position in support of or in opposition to the town's lawsuit against the land trust. A vote to approve this article is not equivalent to taking a personal position with respect to whether or not the article should pass. A vote of indefinite postponement is a vote to deny Westwood residents the right to participate in public discourse on this topic. A vote of indefinite postponement is a vote to defeat the primary purpose of the special town meeting, which the town is still legally required to hold as a result of a valid citizen's petition. Does anyone have any questions about this article?
Questions on the first article?
Article 2?
Yep.
Okay. Article 2, to see if the town will prohibit the expenditure of any town funds from any source in furtherance of said litigation. The purpose of this article is to allow Westwood residents to restrict the select board's use of public funds in pursuit of this lawsuit against the Westwood Land Trust. Voters at town meeting do have authority with respect to whether or not to appropriate funding for a particular purpose. Use of funds for the purpose of pursuing a lawsuit against the land trust was not specifically presented to voters for their approval at town meeting. We believe the town is using general litigation funds approved as part of the most recent town budget to pursue this lawsuit against the land trust. But absent a valid public interest justification, this is a misuse of those funds and thus is not approved by voters as part of the recent budget. A vote to approve this article is a vote to allow public discussion regarding the source of funds for the town's lawsuit against the land trust, and whether, absent a valid public interest justification, this use is consistent with the use of litigation funds which voters approved as part of the most recent town budget. A vote to approve this article is not equivalent to taking a personal position in support of or opposition to the town's lawsuit against the land trust. A vote to approve this article is not equivalent to taking a personal position with respect to whether or not the article should pass. A vote of indefinite postponement is a vote to deny Westwood residents the right to participate in public discourse on this topic. And a vote of indefinite postponement is a vote to defeat a purpose of the special town meeting, which the town is still required to hold as a result of the citizens' petition. Any questions on Article 2?
I guess my only question is that for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4,
Yes.
You're putting these forward understanding that they are non-binding.
Yes, I am.
Okay, just making sure so that they're
Yes.
non-binding, they're recommendations to put a spotlight on the issue and to try to encourage the consideration by the select board.
Exactly. The select board is not required to listen to the voice of the voters.
Oh, could I just, actually, I have a point
well-
of, I have a question on that, just in terms of the non-binding nature of them, because I did see that the opinion that we received from outside counsel on that, the select board received. But I was just curious, particularly with respect to Article 2. I mean, I understand the analysis about the separation of powers between the select board and the town meeting, but my understanding is that the town meeting has the authority, as the letter says, to appropriate or not to appropriate. So it seems to me like this Article 2 potentially could be binding. Don't we have doesn't town meeting have the authority to rescind an appropriation?
Can I ask town council?
Yeah, we'll ask Pat Ahern. And Pat, I apologize for doing this, but we probably need to get a microphone to you, Pat. We're gonna steal your
No,
microphone.
stay there.
No,
We'll get it to you,
We're
we'll
coming
get
to
it
you,
to
we're
you.
coming to
We'll
you.
get
Give it to him.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you. The issue with Article 2 is the Article 2, as I remember the wording, directs the select board, and, thank you, prohibit the expenditure of any town funds from any source in furtherance of the litigation. Okay, it's not a budget appropriation, it's directing the select board to do something. Town meeting is the legislative function, can't direct the select board, the executive function, to do their job. There's much case law in that, and that's in the memo that we received from outside counsel. And just to clarify, I went to outside counsel because she is, perhaps, we're fortunate to have her. She's the managing partner of KP, which is the largest municipal law firm in the Commonwealth. She's worked with us on several charters, and it's her learned opinion that the way it's written is non-binding.
Okay.
But I don't agree with that.
Well, no, that's helpful. I appreciate that, but
It's not
I
as
guess.
clearly settled as the other ones. I mean, I agree that the legislature cannot direct the executive branch.
Right, I agree.
But the legislature does control appropriations, and I think there's a gray area with respect to Articles 2 and 3 as to whether this is binding. And I think we should move forward because we should still have the discussion, and we can agree to disagree as to whether it's
Hang on a
binding.
second, I get a chance to talk here too.
Yeah.
So, while I understand your position, and others have talked to me about that position, it's clearly directed towards telling the select board what to do, which a town meeting can't do. And if you think about it logically, if every time 200 voters are aggrieved by an issue in town, we have to go to a special town meeting to resolve it, we'll never get anything done in terms of managing the town. It's a very dangerous precedent to set.
I totally disagree.
Okay.
If the select board, every time the select board
Can I please not be interrupted?
No back and forth.
No, actually, I thought this was my time.
Well, I guess, no, we asked.
I was asked for my opinion.
Okay.
He was asked for his opinion by us.
Fair enough.
And we're allowed, and everybody speaks at my discretion.
All right, well, I appreciate that.
Clear.
We can agree to disagree.
Yeah, you don't have to villainize your opponent here anymore. So we've had a phone discussion.
Yeah, I mean, in reading the opinion and reading Article 2, it says to see if the town will vote to prohibit the expenditure of any town fund. So I was reading that almost, and maybe it's a drafting issue, but as sort of zeroing out an appropriation, so,
It
rescinding.
doesn't say zeroing out appropriation.
So is this a drafting issue? Like,
Yes.
it's something that could be amended at the special town meeting?
Well, it's at the discretion of the moderator.
Okay. All right, that's helpful, thank you.
I think it's an important thing, though, because if we're going as the select board, select board, the FinCom, we're going to consider this motion. We need to understand if it's binding or not. And in the event that it were to be amended and become binding on the floor of town meeting, in my opinion, we would need to have that come before us again.
Okay.
And so, I am strongly opposed to an amendment at town meeting. It's certainly up to the discretion of the speaker, the moderator, but in my opinion, that materially impacts our position as a FinCom. That would be my position.
Anything else I can help you with tonight?
No,
Not right
we
now.
reserve the right to call you again.
Thank
Stay
you.
close.
Yeah.
But don't take
And
the
if you could
microphone.
return the
Give the
mic.
microphone back.
I don't need it.
No, we do.
You do?
For
You do need it so people at
video.
home can hear.
actually, that one I don't know if you do, but
Thank
Right.
you.
So that device there is a microphone as well.
Got it.
yeah. And so, Aaron, I asked the question because again, binding or non-binding is very material.
Understood.
And so that's why, and so you're here before us today with the understanding that these are non-binding, all four.
I believe that Article 2 and 3, it's not as clear. It's a gray area.
Okay.
I believe they're worth taking action on, but I understand your point as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a gray area. I will say I don't disagree with respect to Articles 1 and 4 are non-binding. That's very clear, and the legal precedent is settled. To me, I don't think an appropriation is the same thing as directing the select board what to do. That's an issue of just disagreement.
Okay.
Okay.
No,
there's no
there's no
comment.
comments yet, but we're gonna give everybody 2 minutes, once Erin finishes her, conversation. We'll then open it up for public discussion, and then, once that's done, we will close, and then we will deliberate as a FinCom.
Mike, can I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, so can you just restate your position on what you believe is binding versus non-binding on the four?
Sure, I believe that Article 2 and 3 are binding.
Are binding.
Article 3 is really just to get information, so Article 3 is kind of
Okay.
neither here nor there.
Okay.
I do believe that Article 2 is binding,
And if,
because the legislature, which is the town meeting, under Chapter 2 of the town charter, does have control over appropriations.
sure, but
Let me be abundantly clear. No one in the audience is allowed to speak right now. And if you can't control yourself, then you have to leave.
Oh, you want to use the microphone?
Oh, yes.
Can't hear him.
She's asking for her, he can't
Oh,
hear.
this.
Oh, I'm sorry, you can't hear me. Got it, okay,
There's-
sorry.
Yeah.
can you not hear,
Yeah.
can you not hear us, or can you not hear her?
Can't hear him. He doesn't have a microphone, he can't hear him.
All right, hang on one sec, we'll try to address this.
You might just have to turn up the volume. I think it's so active.
That's recording.
Any recommendation, or?
Use the mic.
Those articles on the screen too.
We can if she has to pull it.
And then
Are we ready on a microphone?
That-
I think you can hear now. Can you hear now? Is that better? Can you hear me? And I think- Can you speak, just to test it out?
Yes. Does that work?
Is that better?
Is that better?
Ask him.
Yes, I think so. Can you hear me now?
She has
Okay.
one there.
Put it a little closer to you.
Sorry, I
so you
didn't know
don't-
it was a microphone.
Okay, so just for my own clarity, and hopefully it helps others on the commission and off the commission. So, Article 1, you believe is not binding,
I agree,
is not binding.
it
okay.
is not.
Article 2, you believe is.
I do.
But what I'm hearing is that saying you want to withdraw funds from a litigation pot of money may be binding, but the way it's currently written, people are of the opinion that it's not binding. Is that right?
Our town council has given us the guidance that it is not binding.
Right, okay. And then Article 3, I guess you haven't gotten there yet.
Right.
But my comment, I guess, as you're going into this is, couldn't this be a FOIA request if somebody wanted to?
It could be, but I'll get to the purpose of
Okay,
that in a
sure.
minute if you don't mind,
Okay.
yes. Okay, are we done with Article 2?
Any other questions on Article 2?
We're good, thank you, Aaron.
Good.
Okay, thank you. Article 3 is to see if the town will vote to require a full public accounting of all town funds spent to date in furtherance of said litigation. As Alex mentioned, this could properly be a FOIA request. The purpose of this article is to provide the Westwood voters with the information they need to fully understand the amount of funds that the select board has spent in pursuit of its lawsuit against the land trust. It's basically a discussion item for the special town meeting. A vote to approve this article would just allow public discussion regarding the amount of public funds that have been spent in pursuit of the lawsuit against the land trust. A vote to approve the article is not equivalent to taking a personal position in support of or in opposition to the town's lawsuit against the land trust. A vote to approve this article is not equivalent to taking a personal position with respect to whether or not the article should pass. A vote of indefinite proposement is a vote to deny Westwood residents timely access to this important information. A vote of indefinite postponement is a vote to defeat one of the purposes of the special town meeting, which will still be required to be held as a result of the citizens petition. Any questions on
Question on
Article
that?
3? Yeah, sure.
So, I heard you say that Article 3 is to raise the topic at this town meeting.
Correct.
But as I understand it, there would be no encumbrance on anybody from town to have that information, furnish that information at the time. So I guess I'm just curious the rationale behind Article 3, if it's just going to be, hey, we'd like the information, but
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
not
I
gonna
have to be
furnished.
honest with you. I'd never been to one of these meetings before, and I don't completely understand how all this stuff works.
Okay.
I had to figure out what is a vote of indefinite postponement. So the point when I wrote these was to get the information that the people that I've been talking to most want to know. So if I've written this incorrectly, I apologize. I don't have legal expertise in municipal law like Mr. Ahern, but that's what I was after. If it's
Listen.
invalid, it's not that important, but I'm just trying to pass along things to the town that people want to know.
First of all, I want to commend you for stepping up to the plate and doing this, because it takes a lot of courage, and like
Thank
most
you.
people in this room, we are not lawyers, we are not anything of the sort. I myself have learned the process through being on FinCom for several years, so please don't be discouraged by that, and I commend you
Yeah,
for
no,
stepping
I
up.
appreciate that.
But I guess just to maybe inform you, this article, I guess I'm just trying to understand the impetus for it, because at the time this is raised at this town meeting, nobody will stand up and say we've spent $25.60 or $300,000 on that. So a FOIA request would get you that information.
Okay.
And even if the town votes that they want this information, it would be the same, I think, as a FOIA request in terms of the town then needing to furnish this information
Okay.
at a later date.
Okay.
So I don't know if that changes anything here, but
Yeah, I don't really know
so I just
either.
wanted
Yeah.
to share that perspective.
Yeah.
That in case the expectation was that somebody would come to this meeting with,
Right.
here's the number.
Right,
That's certainly
understood.
not going to happen.
Got it. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You can go to 4, Aaron.
Any more? Okay, good. Article 4, which is thankfully the last one, to see if the town will vote to recommend that no member of the select board, town council, or any town official or employee initiate, pursue, fund, or engage in any further legal, administrative, or strategic action related to this matter, or to take any other action relative thereto, without first holding an open, in-person public meeting where town residents may speak and be heard. The purpose of this article is to emphasize that Westwood residents should be allowed to participate in a public process with respect to future use of the land at 665 Clappertree Street, as envisioned by Chapter 2 of our town charter. A vote to approve this article is a vote to encourage public discussion and debate before the town takes any further action against the Westwood Land Trust, in order to provide the select board with a sense of the meeting with respect to future actions. A vote to approve this article is not equivalent to taking a personal position in support of or opposition to the town's lawsuit against the land trust. A vote to approve this article is not equivalent to taking a personal position with respect to whether or not the article should pass. A vote of indefinite postponement is a vote to deny Westwood residents the right to participate in public discourse on this topic. And a vote of indefinite postponement is a vote to defeat one of the purposes of the special town meeting, which the town is legally required to hold as a result of the citizens' petition. Any questions on this one?
On Article 4, is this one as well, in your opinion, binding?
It is not,
It
it's
is
just a
not.
recommendation.
So 1 and 4 are not binding, they're unenforceable.
Correct. And the select board with that information can proceed as it wishes. The town meeting functions as a legislature and cannot dictate how the executive branch, which is the select board, performs its job. So it's an exercise in expressing our opinion as voters and seeing what the select board does with that information.
Chris? Very good. Oh, sorry, Chris, Mike. I didn't see who had.
All right, so, Mike, you want to go first?
You're older than I am.
I was just going to say the same thing. Aaron, I echo Alex's commendation. Thank you for stepping up, because we need more people in the town to step up. But you do realize that even if this commission votes to recommend indefinite postponement, the town meeting can still have a discussion.
It has to, I believe it has to take a vote to overcome the vote for definite postponement.
There can be a discussion on that issue.
Okay,
So even if we recommend a definite postponement, there will be a full discussion of the issue before the process plays out.
okay.
And my question, or my point, thank you, great minds think alike.
Yeah, right.
Had to do with the indefinite postponement position you just took. Because I don't see it that way. We can, as a group, vote for indefinite postponement, but it doesn't necessarily negate the opportunity to have further discussion.
Can you explain to me then, what does a vote for indefinite postponement mean?
Can I share one quick thing? So as a matter of how this works, we are going to vote, and our opinion is shared with the town voters, whoever may or may not attend that special town meeting. We are not actually decision makers in terms of whether or not these go forward.
Yeah.
So whatever's voted tonight, indefinite postponement, support, non-support, what have you, doesn't change the fact that this special town meeting will be taking place, and that these warrant articles will be presented to the town.
Okay,
So our job is to, in some way, shape, or form, be representative of the town in our opinion. So let's just say any article gets voted 5-3 or whatever, 10-4. That information is presented to anybody attending the town meeting,
Okay.
so they can understand how this diverse group voted on the matter,
Okay.
just to inform a voter's opinion if they care how we voted.
Got
It
it.
doesn't actually change anything that happens on the day of.
okay, so is it true that if it's voted for indefinite postponement, then there needs to be a vote at town meeting of more than 50%
Correct.
to discuss,
Yeah, no,
To-
not to discuss.
not to discuss?
But a vote needs to be taken in order to decide whether or not to further discuss. I guess that's the way to put it.
Okay,
Essentially overturn the
Yeah.
indefinite postponement.
correct,
Yes, a vote needs to take place to overturn the indefinite postponement, but
Correct.
the discussion still happens. either
okay,
way.
okay.
Yeah, I'd like to actually call on our esteemed Pat. Pat, could you weigh in on at town meeting the indefinite postponement and the vote? It's a majority vote in order to overcome the indefinite postponement and then to call the warrant article for discussion.
Can you hear me? I was just talking to the moderator about the quorum of the vote to overcome indefinite postponement. I was reading some older town meeting warrants and results today, and there was some, it's not clear to me tonight whether it's a majority vote or two-thirds vote to overcome indefinite postponement. I will have that information by the time, settled by the time you
We have our
write it up.
Okay.
Okay, so, my memory is that it's a two-thirds vote. Moderator believes it's a majority vote. Reasonable people can look at things differently, but we'll have that information for you. So what happens is at town meeting is there's some vote whether or not to uphold indefinite postponement or to not uphold it. If it's not upheld, then there needs to be a motion, and Mr. Moderator, correct me if I misspeak, because he's the decider of this, there needs to be a motion to act on the merits of the warrant article underneath. That usually happens. There's usually a second, and then you have a discussion about the merits of the warrant article in question.
Got it. So just to be clear, Pat, a conversation about the warrant article can take place prior to a vote of, are we going to overturn the indefinite postponement?
Well, they're almost inseparable, because if you want to, thinking about it logically, if you want to overcome indefinite postponement, I think those people who have to be able to articulate why they want to overcome indefinite postponement, why they think it's important to overcome indefinite postponement. So they're, in my view, almost inseparable.
Got it. Thank you.
Can I ask this
Why don't you keep
commission?
that? Sorry.
Is there a third option? Is there an option for this FinCom to take no action with respect to these articles? Because when I was reading this, it almost seems like there maybe should be a third option.
We have three options. we approve, we reject, or we propose indefinite postponement.
Okay.
Those are the only three options that we have at our disposal.
Okay,
Every warrant article that comes before this FinCom, we have to make that decision.
understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So I didn't realize if we vote indefinite postponement, a vote needs to occur at town meeting. You're going to get back to us on whether it's 2/3 or.
So your job is to make a recommendation on the warrant article town meeting.
Right.
That town meeting will act on, okay? You could move, you could say, we move that you adopt this as a warrant article. Then that goes forward. If you move for indefinite postponement, there needs to be a discussion whether or not indefinite postponement is what the town wants or doesn't want. If indefinite postponement gets defeated, whatever the margin is, and we'll
Right.
iron that out, then you have someone needs to make a motion to move affirmatively on the merits of the warrant article.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And what happens if we vote no tonight?
Then it
What
goes
happens
to
at town
town meeting as a no vote.
Right.
And then-
And then no vote needs to occur, no 50% or,
So then you have a no vote.
That's an option.
You have a no vote. I believe that's just a majority vote.
Yeah.
Do you accept the no vote or not?
okay.
And I'm trying to stay out of all the procedural stuff and try and keep it as simple as possible. So if you vote no, then it goes to town meeting. This warrant article comes before town meeting with a no vote, a motion to vote no from the Finance and Warrant Commission. Then town meeting can have a discussion, and they can have a discussion on the merits.
Right.
And if you move yes, they can have a discussion on the merits. And if you move indefinite postponement, you can have a discussion on indefinite postponement that's, like I've already said
Yep.
tonight, almost not separated from the merits of the warrant article. Town meeting never can go too far from the merits of the warrant article. Does that help or?
Yeah, yes, thank you. Yeah.
So, Aaron, as somebody who brought a petition in years past myself, I think, if I recall the charter correctly, the only result of a town meeting upholding an indefinite postponement recommendation for us is that that same article cannot be brought before town meeting for 3 years,
Unless it's brought by a board.
unless it's brought by board.
Got it.
But it's the exact same language.
Yeah, for clarity, Pat, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Jim, if you could maybe say a couple of things to either clear up any confusion that exists. I think it's really important for us as a FinCom tonight to know if it's a majority vote to overcome indefinite postponement or 2/3. And that is a critical thing for this FinCom tonight.
Right. In my opinion, I took a look at it. To overcome indefinite postponement requires a majority vote at town meeting.
Yep.
I think FinCom has two choices. You can vote in favor of the article, or you can vote indefinite postponement. I don't think you can vote no against the article. That's what indefinite postponement is.
Okay.
Anything else?
Actually, yeah.
I have a clarifying question. So all of the articles that we're looking at today are going to be limited and specific to this one issue. This isn't, some of this is not meant to be in a broader context, correct? This is only
This is
specific.
very specific to the
this.
litigation that the select board has initiated against the land trust.
To follow up on that, but if we do, are we setting say with this thing with the second question, are we setting a precedent for other issues? And I guess I'd ask that of Pat.
Pat, just pull up a chair, right over there.
I just want to see Pat exercise here.
It's the microphone.
Related to this matter.
Getting your steps in.
Yes, that's correct. So I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
So
Can you clarify?
she's asking if these things are all specific to this particular issue.
Yep.
And I'm asking that if we vote on something, is it a slippery slope for other issues to come up and say, oh, you set a precedent when you did this? If, for other issues with the town.
Well, anytime the town takes action, it could in theory be setting precedent, okay? So, but it's non-binding, at least we have agreement that 1 and 4 are non-binding.
We do.
I look at 3 as a FOIA request that can be fulfilled in 10 days, so I'm not concerned about 3, okay? So the issue is 2. We've got my opinion, and you've got Lauren Goldberg's opinion, and there's probably other opinions, but that's to be ironed out. Anytime town meeting acts, in theory, it's setting precedent. So the one thing I did say early on, and I agree with this, I don't think we want to set up a situation where anytime 200 voters are aggrieved, they call for a special town meeting. I don't think we want to run town that way. I don't think we could run town that way. I think you elect the select board to manage the town. Town meeting tells them gives them guidelines. Now, the best example I can give you is when the town authorizes an eminent domain taking. The town meeting can't do the eminent domain taking. The select board have to do it. So it's at their discretion whether they want to do it or not. And there's a bunch of other examples that I can't think of this moment off the top of my head. But that's the one precedent I'm concerned with and I think the AG and the state courts have looked at this and have been very firm in their approach that town meeting's the legislative branch, select board of the executive branch, and there's a separation of powers for a reason.
Hey, Pat, just to clarify this, how many previous times has there been 200 signatures that necessitated a meeting?
So I'm glad you asked that.
Thank you.
So there's a woman who's the town clerk. Her name is Powers also. I had her go back and look through, because she has all the meetings of the town, to 1958. And I don't know that we've ever haven't had a special town meeting called by a voter petition since 1958. There was a special town meeting that was called in 97 that looks to me like it was called by the select board and the school board school committee, when we were trying to renovate the middle school. I believe Carby Street was on it, and they were trying to build a community center on the Shuttleworth property. So the two bodies scheduled a special town meeting, and there were a bunch of petition articles, like Mr. Pareto talked about, on that. And it seems like it was a pretty big turnout.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't,
Answer your question?
I don't remember any earlier than 1958. So.
No, I don't
I barely
either.
remember. But just as far as precedent, because, I think that the process allows for, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
It allows for this to happen.
Yep.
Signatures presented, the will of the people, if you will, and here we are.
But what you write matters. How you draft things matter. And every lawyer I know has probably drafted, including myself, drafted something that didn't turn out the way you wanted it to. But that's kind of where we are.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for the FinCom?
Any questions for Aaron, or should we open it for?
Yeah, I've got a question for Aaron. Why did you think it was necessary to call for a special town meeting rather than put these articles as petition articles for the regularly scheduled annual town meeting?
That's a great question, thank you. Because the regular town meeting is not until May, and because I feel that this litigation is about to ramp up and it needs to be stopped. It's costing, as soon as the discovery process begins, the legal meters will be running on both sides. So I feel that I think, in my opinion, this has gone on too long and it needs to be stopped immediately. So that's why I also had the feeling.
She's speaking into
Oh,
the mic.
I'm sorry. I also was concerned that it would be put at the end of the book and spoken, addressed at 11 o'clock at night at town meeting. If we're being completely honest, yes, thank you.
Yeah, question, 1, 2, and 4 seem somewhat redundant, and they're all sort of saying the same thing in slightly different ways. Do you have a strong feeling as to why, let's leave 3 aside, because I think, that it's not gonna be furnished at the meeting and could be done through a legal 10-day period. So is there any reason you feel strongly about having 1, 2, and 4 when they're sort of both signaling, you stop the spend here?
I have to be honest with you, Article 1 to me is my ride or die.
Okay. Got it.
I mean, my ride or die. The hill I want to die on, I don't know, what are some other
I wasn't sure if that
expressions?
was a legal term.
Yeah, no. No, to me, Article 1 is the essence of what we're all about.
Okay.
The reason I did this and I didn't wait until the regular town meeting, which I think only requires like 10 signatures and would have been not as much a heavy a lift, was because I feel like this is really important. And I also think that it deserves its own attention. I didn't want it to get buried at the back of the book, and I didn't want to wait until May. But in terms of the articles, the one I'm most attached to and my favorite child is Article 1.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't personally missing anything in terms of the delineation between
No.
1, 2, 3.
No, that's all I'll
Thank
say.
you.
Thank you.
But Aaron, you do understand, because maybe I'm a big finance person, that there's a cost to what you're doing to the town.
I do.
There's a $30,000-$40,000 cost to all of us as taxpayers to hold the special election. That
I'm
doesn't
aware.
even account like the hours that I'm sure the teams have to put into it at town.
I am aware of that.
What did you say, how much is the cost?
$27,000 to have
It's
it
actually
done.
gone up, we can
It's
get,
more,
yeah.
it's
Okay.
over 30.
Right. I'm aware. I can assure the town that the cost of the special town meeting, if the select board decides to drop the lawsuit, will be less than the protracted litigation to chase this case to its final resolution. There's no question. And I also will point out that I did not hear these costs of the special town meeting in September when the town held the second town meeting to discuss the Fire Station 1 for the second time.
No, we definitely shared the cost of that.
Okay, I'm just saying, that cost $30,000 too, and they put the same project up twice. So I think it's worth it, and I think on a $120 million budget, it's not that important.
Another question?
This is more of a statement, and this is more of a statement. I want to collect my thoughts here, and I'm speaking more just so I understand what's going on, because we're talking about 4 different articles here. But there's a bigger issue, and I don't think it's clear what the bigger issue is. And again, I could be wrong. I'm sure there are people smarter than me that understand it better, but I'm going to dumb it down a little. There's a piece of land that was donated by Mr. McFarland to the Land Trust. The land was donated and restricted, and it can only be used for farming, agriculture, or basically open fields. You can't put a house, you can't put something on it. So, and again, I know I'm using the wrong terms, but, so you can't build a house, can't put anything on it. It's just an open field for farming, agriculture, or something like that. The bean, or conservation land, I'm sorry. The Bean farm, or family, is in a butter. They want to use this to farm. Everybody refers to the Bean family as the Bean farm, but they've been here since, Jesus wore short pants. So they've been here forever. And they have been maintaining it, cutting the grass, taking care of it, as in a butter, because it would be an eyesore under otherwise. So that may not be true. And again, I don't know. I just want to get an understanding of what the background is. I think the first 3 points, they're in a butter. The land was donated by Mr. McFarland.
To the town.
To the land trust.
No, I'm sorry, I'm correcting you. Yeah.
Okay, so again, I'm trying to get the
George,
facts out there.
Can I suggest that somebody with
knowledge,
unadulterated facts share a
Yeah.
brief summary so that we're not...
somebody, because we're voting on petition.
I do have a
We don't
5-minute
know.
summary.
Right, that's what I
Very
think it's
helpful.
fair. I think it's a fair ask.
Nobody knows, we have a petition, but we don't know the background story.
Okay, no, I'm happy to, I have 3 paragraphs, okay? And this is, everyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I doubt I am. About 25 years ago, the McFarlands purchased the large tract of land on Clappertree Street to protect it because it was going to be developed. They wanted to preserve it as open space. Around the same time, they granted a CR, conservation restriction, over the land to protect it from development and preserve its state. That CR runs with the land forever, legally. The CR was granted to the Land Trust, which is an independent, nonprofit charitable organization. Shortly thereafter, they gave a portion of the land subject to the CR to the town. And the select board accepted the land subject to the CR. So the town holds title to the land. The land trust, the CR runs in favor of the land trust. So, and that's set up
What
actually.
does CR mean?
Conservation restriction. Yeah. Okay. The CR expressly prohibits many activities on the land, not just building, and excludes limited exceptions, including some for agricultural use, but only in certain circumstances and only with the consent of the land trust. The bean farm is the neighboring business. They want to expand their commercial agricultural operations by leasing. I understand this part, correct me if I'm wrong, they want to lease the land from the town. They don't want to buy it. Because of the CR, the town cannot lease this land to the bean farm without the permission of the land trust. Now, according to the farm, it has asked the land trust over the last 9 years for this permission. The land trust has refused. Previous select boards for 9 years accepted these decisions as final. For unknown reasons, the current select board has not. So they formally requested again permission from the land trust to lease the land for private agricultural use. The land trust again refused. This led the select board to file a lawsuit against the land trust in July of 2025. They are seeking a ruling which would allow it to lease the land for private agricultural use, essentially overruling the findings and decisions of the land trust. In August, after that, the McFarlands made an offer to end this dispute completely, to buy the land back from the town for over $400,000. None of us knew about this. The select board rejected it without public discussion and instead chooses to press forward with the
How
lawsuit.
many acres is it you're talking about?
It's about 8 acres, I believe, and is.
Yeah, 6 of which would be farmed, 8 in total, right?
Yeah. So for me, I'll tell you, me personally, as a resident, when I saw that the town could end this for $400,000, that seemed like the right decision for the town. And that's kind of
Yeah,
when that's when my antenna went up.
Yeah, with all due respect, we need the facts, and I
Yeah,
know
that's it.
you, that whole kind of piece with the exception of the facts was your opinion, and so I don't know if it's appropriate for us to have anybody either from the town. I mean, I think there's the other side, and that will potentially come out at town meeting or not.
Yeah.
I also understand that the Conservation Committee had a study done. And
Yes.
that the study has not been turned over to the town, and certainly not made available to the FinCom.
The Conservation Committee or the Land Trust?
That's right, the land trust, I apologize, the land trust. And so there's a study, I believe, that would effectively either, strengthen the position of let's not do this, or diminish it. The select board wants to see that. The land trust is not allowing that to happen. And so I think there's layers of complexity here. And, I think that one of the things that Pat said is true, words matter. So I've read the CR. And granted, it does say that the land trust has the overarching authority, and that they will not unreasonably withhold the permitted uses.
Right.
Permitted uses is laid out as agriculture. And so it is a permitted use, and when asked for the study, the land trust will not turn that over to the town. So again, I just, for me, those are some,
Big
challenging
facts.
things. We're wasting time, and granted, I think, I echo, what you're doing is valid. It's an option that the town has. But not only the money, but the significant effort that's going into this, I think, in my opinion, could have been achieved through a petition to put the same thing out there and have a vocal dialogue. Now, you wouldn't be here tonight, potentially, but I think we all have the ability to vote for our elected officials. And so, again, stating my position, this seems to be, you didn't get what you wanted from the litigation is still moving forward. And it's just challenging now because you're saying that they're not listening to you, but is it they're not listening to you or they're not doing what you want?
It's that they're not listening.
Yeah, so
I encourage I actually encourage everyone on FinCom, if you have not attended a virtual select board meeting,
we all have.
No,
I'm
we
just
all
saying,
have. I mean, I've listened to every single
yeah,
one of
so I'm
them.
just saying, you have to, I'm speaking for myself, but there are many other people who say the same thing. We're asking legitimate questions and they're refusing to answer questions. So so those public meetings could actually be constructive and we wouldn't need a special town meeting.
So I think that warrant article is interesting. A warrant article to mandate that the select board, hold their meetings in a different way or some scenario like that. I mean, if that even makes sense. But this particular approach to me, I hear your concerns. I think it's that the select board, who we elected, and we can all vote them out.
Yes.
If you don't want them in a particular
Yes.
seat,
Yep.
you can vote them out. That's the democratic process we have.
Yes.
Town meeting, I think, and a special town meeting for this purpose and non-binding articles, again, it seems like a stretch, and quite frankly, 30 to 40,000, I believe is more than we will spend in the legal fees. So I don't know if it's appropriate, I'm giving my opinion, but again, it's not a given that we're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I also don't think it's a given that it's gonna be 30 or 40. The number I heard was 27. So I think
Yeah,
that
sorry.
it's just to be heard.
Yeah.
It's just to be
understood.
heard.
All right.
But I don't want any more debate. You can comment, but I don't want any more debate.
Yeah, no, do I.
let
That's
that-
why I move that we get the rest of the story, if you will. And thank you for.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We have to, Rob needs to open the select board meeting
Got it.
before we go to public comment.
Yeah.
They're attending, in order to speak, they have to open the meeting.
Oh, public
Because there's
meeting.
two of them. and
Public
there's-
meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Rob Gotti, Westwood Select Board. We just want to open our January 13th meeting as we are all here. I'm joined by my colleagues Joe Provatera and Mary Ann LeBlanc Cummings. So this meeting is officially open. Please do. Okay, we are officially open. May I respond to just a couple of things?
Sure.
Thank you. There's been discussion that we have not listened. We have been listening all along. There has been, commentary that we have not done things in public. All of our meetings are held in public. Every one of our agendas is published well in advance, and every one time that we go into executive session, we have to state what we're going into executive session to talk about, and then before we go into executive session, we need to cite the reasons per Mass General Law as to why we are invoking executive session. So there were a number of agendas where it said we will be going into executive session with respect to potential litigation regarding 665 Clabbertree Street. Weren't hiding anything. With respect to what's in the public interest, it is in the public interest that any contracts with the town are preserved. Our rights are preserved and protected. That is what we are seeking. We have a disagreement on the language in the contract, in the conservation restriction, and when reasonable parties disagree, they seek the determination of the courts. That's exactly what we're doing, and that is what's in the public interest because, as Mr. Gay just said, words matter, and so words in a contract matter. That is why we have pursued this, and that is why we continue to work in the background to try and find a reasonable solution to this. But absent that, we have this moving forward with the courts, and hopefully we don't get there. But, at this point, there has been a hearing. It is with a judge, and they may make a ruling. The path that we chose was essentially an equivalent to a summary judgment. If the judge says, no, we side with the land trust, it's all over, right? So that's what we're trying to get done, is establish what our rights are as they were delineated in the document as we understand it. Thank you.
Yep. So here's how this is going to work. We're going to open up the, wait a second till I'm done. You'll see I will have limited patience for not listening. We're going to have, let me finish. Everyone will have 2 minutes to speak. How we want this to work, given all the people, is go out that door and come around this way to the mic. When you get to the microphone, please state your name and address, and then you'll have 2 minutes to speak. You speak at the discretion of the chair. I don't want cheering, booing, swearing, any of that stuff. Let's behave ourselves. I think everyone's an adult here. So we will open up the public hearing now. So around that way and through around. You have to say your name and address.
No.
No, definitely not.
How's that?
Better.
No.
Better.
Not good?
I can't hear you.
Get as close as you can.
Okay, how about this?
Better.
Okay, Catherine Chernopoulos, 106 Colburn Street. And I just want to comment on the fact about the claim by the select board that they've been open to, and they're listening. That's the problem, they're listening, but they're not answering any questions. And a lot of this came about, the reason there's this petition is because we're not getting answers to our questions. And I was actually at the last select board meeting, and the fact that I was called on to speak, but my chat was blocked, and since none of our pictures show up on the screen, none of the attendees are shown on the screen, I couldn't go in and I couldn't put my mic on. So I had an opportunity to speak, and I couldn't speak. That's the kind of stuff that's happening. We were told several times at different select board meetings that we're allowed to speak, but they're not going to answer our questions. And that's what this is all about. Thank you.
So I'll just say something additional as people come up to the microphone. The comments should be kept to the warrant articles at hand and addressed to the FinCom. Complaints to the select board can be brought to the select board at their meetings.
I thought that that's what the warrant article was about, trying to get our voices heard. I'm sorry.
Hi, Tariq Haq, 61 Willow Street. So I was a little concerned by one of the comments that was made earlier that if we are worried that we are setting a precedence by doing something, we shouldn't be doing it. I think that's a really bad thinking, because then we'll never improve in what we do. So as a town, we should be thinking about doing things differently and improving ourselves. Question directly related to the warrants, and from what I understand, is the moderator's prerogative whether to accept any changes or not. So the question to the group here is, if there's a language change, so it lets whatever has been written in the warrant to be binding or non-binding, either way, how much advance notice is required, if any?
It can be made, from my understanding, and Jimmy can correct me if I'm wrong, it has to be a written request. It has to be submitted to the moderator, and then the moderator will determine whether he's going to allow a vote on an amendment to a current warrant article.
Before the town meeting?
No, at town meeting.
At town
There, no changes can be made to any warrant article once they've been published.
Thank you.
Correct, Jim?
Right.
If he can come up and use the microphone again. Sorry.
Amendments.
Close to. Oh, right here is fine.
Amendments should be submitted to me in writing prior to town meeting, so I can take a look at it. It's got to be. There's certain amendments I would rule out of order. So if it was a type of amendment that would change the fundamental components of the article requiring FinCom to have another meeting, I would rule it out of order, and then you'd have to start all over again.
Thank you, that makes sense.
So is that a special rule for special town meetings? Because I feel
No.
like at town meetings, there's been amendments that weren't necessarily submitted before.
They were
I think at the
submitted
most
before.
recent one, there was like the Charter Commission.
You can
amendment.
amend at town meeting, but if it amends the fundamental nature of the article, which would require a further review by FinCom, then I would
Okay.
rule it out of order
Okay.
at town meeting.
Thanks, Jim.
But we don't see, like, it goes to Jim if they want to amend, not to us, unless he kicks it and says, no, it has to go to FinCom.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chuck Bean, 700 Clapboard Tree Street. And my son Christopher, who's the farmer, and question here, he's attending a Farm Bureau meeting tonight. He's on the Board of Directors for Norfolk County, so otherwise he'd be here. Duncan, we can end this right now. 28 years ago, my father started the Clapboard Tree Preservation Society. He was the president, you were the treasurer. That morphed into the Westwood Preservation Society. My dad was the president, Duncan was the treasurer. My father had an interest in agriculture and continuing to farm in this community. My son Christopher is a 14th generation farmer. My dad has been farming those fields on clapboard trees since 1950s, coming over from Dover. Our family came over here a few boats after the Mayflower in 1652. My father had one request. He had no money. He could not buy the land. But at the time, 28 years ago, Vaza Construction had a proposal to build 68 townhouses on the land in question, wrapped around our family's farm. My dad was up in arms. He did not want to see his farm being shadowed by a massive townhouse or condo development. He knocked on doors up and down Clapboard Tree Street, and he hit the jackpot when Mr. McFarland answered the call. He came in, bought the land out from under the developer, put the property into conservation, and we were all thrilled. A conservation restriction was drafted. We know the attorney, we know the selectmen at the time were all involved in signing off on this. Mr. McFarland signed off on this. It was clearly depicted that agricultural uses were permissible in that conservation restriction because my father asked for it to be there. That's the only reason why the agricultural language is in there. My dad wanted that land potentially to be farmed someday. My son Christopher, who just turned 30 years old yesterday, was 2 or 3 years old at the time. We had no idea he wanted to farm. Fast forward the tape, he goes to Cornell University to study agriculture. I'm sorry. Thank you for listening. Duncan, I wish you would honor your original, the judgment that we all came up with. And while we're trying to just keep farming in Westwood. That's it.
Actually, one thing I want to say before you speak. We understand there's people from both sides. You've both had a chance to clap at each other's things. Please limit clapping. It's disruptive. Let's focus on the speakers.
Okay, my name's Nancy Dempsey. I'm the president of the Westwood Land Trust, and I've served on the Land Trust for 24 years. I've personally stewarded 13 of the 14 conservation properties that we hold. I'm not going to speak for what happened at the time the CR went in place. I wasn't on the Land Trust then, but I am going to speak about the Land Trust position. I have 3 main points. First, while the Land Trust wants to end this litigation as soon as possible, we were not involved in the petition that's being discussed tonight. We are trying to work with the Select Board to find a win-win solution. Second, I want the Beans and everyone in here to know that I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, that I personally in the Land Trust is not at all against farming. We're not at all against the Beans, but we have a sworn duty to uphold the conservation purposes in the conservation restriction and to follow the intent of the donors. And how could we do that? We can't sacrifice the natural meadow, but there are other financial solutions that could replace the revenues that one might receive from the meadow. We're talking about, it's 8 acres, 3 have been documented as wetlands. We're talking about whatever the profits would be on 5 acres of farming. There's lots of other ways that we could replace those revenues. And third, there's so much being said about we haven't released the report. The Land Trust made its decision based on a lot of input from experts. The report was part of it, but not all. We're in litigation, so we have to be careful about what we release. We have abundant reasons why protecting that wild meadow serves the highest conservation purposes, and allowing farming, tearing up the meadow, would totally change the habitat and jeopardize a lot of the plant material and things for the pollinators. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn Vitti, 37 Abbey Road. I'm an attorney.
I have read all of the pleadings in this case, and just a point of information, Mr. Bruce. My understanding from reading those pleadings is that the Select Board heard from the consultant that the Land Trust had hired to evaluate the ecosystem and the successive meadow and all of the birds and bees and animals and plants that grow there and thrive there, like the bobolink and all manner of things. So I thought I heard you say that there had been no discussion of the report itself, but in the pleadings, it does state that the Select Board heard from this expert that the Land Trust had hired and had an opportunity to ask questions. I'm just not clear on why that's averted in the pleadings if it didn't happen. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Andy Moore, 86 Clapboard Tree Street. I've read the petition, and one of the things I think everybody should note is that it's entitled regarding the town lawsuit against the Westwood Land Trust, but nowhere in there does it tell anything about what the lawsuit is actually regarding and what the consequences are of agreeing to sign this petition. If you listen to the presentation that was made, she gave us a lot of information about her view of what a vote means. But in my opinion, a vote on this is a vote on the side of the land trust to decide that the town has to drop the lawsuit and thereby support the land trust at the expense of farming, whether that be the bean farm or not. I think if people would look at and read the conservation restriction, as Mr. Gay did, you'd see the language is quite explicit that farming was anticipated. It talks about fertilizers, herbicides, clearing, plowing, planting, and similar agricultural activities, including putting on a farm stand. I think it would benefit us all if Mr. McFarland would explain why he signed this if he never intended that farming be allowed. Similarly, if it was going to damage the land, why would that be included, as the land trust is now arguing that agricultural activities will damage that land? Why was that language put in the first place? And finally, one of the arguments that I've seen being made is that it will be excessively expensive to revert this back to being a meadow. But when I look at it, I believe it was a farm, and I assume it naturally became a meadow, and if we ceased to farm it, it would once again naturally become a meadow at no cost. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ann Wells, and I'm at 403 Gay Street, and I just want to implore you all to allow this process to move forward and not to reject this, because I understand that you're concerned about precedent by allowing this to go forward, but if there is any rule that enables citizens to come forward and speak up against something that they feel is wrong, when money is being used in a way that the town did not necessarily become aware of, and I can speak to the fact that the funds that would be put toward the lawsuit could be entirely replaced by my aunt and uncle, Duncan and Ellen McFarland's offer to buy the land. So I think if there's any concern about the cost of this process, I think if the cost could have been negated by accepting the offer, and it's incredibly important that the town's voices are heard on a matter like this that could create a troubling precedent for conservation land across our entire country. And the Westwood Land Trust is a trusted overseer of this land. They were not able to withhold consent unreasonably without any justification. They had that justification, and meadows do not just appear out of nowhere. It takes significant time for a meadow with the biodiversity and the richness that exists on that land, even if you guys can't necessarily see that or appreciate that when you just look at it, to be developed and preserved. And so I ask you all to consider the fact that we are allowed to have the town meeting in order to speak up, and please allow that to proceed as it was written, as is documented, without being concerned about the precedent of it, because why would it exist if we can't use that option to have our voices heard? So thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it, and I just hope that you do take into consideration how important it is that people's voices are heard on this matter. Thank you.
I'll make a quick comment on that. We are not going to hold up this going to town meeting. The special town meeting is absolutely happening. And so regardless of what vote we take today, the voice is going to be heard. And I 100% agree. If 200 citizens come together and want to be heard at the special town meeting, it's there for a reason. So we're not saying that that's a bad thing. That is a democratic piece of what we have at our disposal.
Susan Springer, 456 Hartford Street. I just want to say, and to begin, that I just feel that our entire town has benefited from, over the years, the actions, the time that our Conservation Commission and Land Trust have put in, and also the wonderful donations that Duncan McFarland has made to our town. And I do feel that the Land Trust takes its obligations seriously and has worked to try to to look at the issue from all sides. I do appreciate the open land, the meadows, but there's a big difference between conservation land and agricultural land. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned, I'm a physician, and I have a particular interest in health changes that occur from different occupations, and agricultural land comes with a lot. We've already mentioned the loss of habitat, but also there are health consequences, and I'm really surprised that we aren't looking more closely at how tilled commercial agricultural land affects the health of our entire town. And I would like to think that that would be part of our scrutiny of what we're doing with this piece of land and how we approach it.
Thank you.
I'm Karen Manor, 5 Long Meadow Drive in Westwood. I'm a 23-year member of the Westwood Land Trust Board and past president. Just wanted to help clarify and respond to a few comments that have been made. One is really focusing on the conservation restriction. That's what we, as a land trust, focus on when we look at each of our properties. Agricultural use is listed in the CR. It's an exceptional use, not a permitted use. And just to put things in context also, of the 12 conservation restrictions Westwood Land Trust holds and is responsible for, 5 of those conservation restrictions have an agricultural clause. Not all of them are the same. It varies by each of the properties. And so 5 of the 12 have an agricultural clause. And I did want to note that it is, by exception, this use, and also an exceptional use technically that exceptional use should only be permitted use for the owner of the property. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board and Westwood community members. My name is Nada Milosavljevic Fabrizio, and I live at 32 Webster Street. And I've been listening to the discussion, and I think my opinion is we need to keep this real. The semantics about the yes and the no and the indefinite postponement. People should know that when a member of this board votes indefinite postponement, they're voting a no. So forget about indefinite postponement and focus on either an up or a down. and then you'll know which side each member of this board is on. Thank you.
Good evening, thank you. My name's Dan Bailey. I live at 29 Martingale Lane. I'm speaking in my capacity as counsel to Duncan and Ellen McFarland, a land use lawyer with the firm of Pierce Atwood in Boston. I think it's important to make clear that I'm speaking as Duncan's representative. I have in the past been special town counsel, many times appeared before this board. I was even interim town counsel briefly, 10 years ago before Pat was appointed. I want to elaborate a little bit on what Karen had to say. I have the conservation restriction, and at the risk of getting into wonky legal details, I'm going to get into wonky legal details because I want people to understand what this says. What it says up front is the purpose. The premises contain substantial wetlands, forests, and open fields, providing a diversity of wildlife habitat. The premises in its natural state affords views and vistas across its open fields from Clappertree Street, providing substantial scenic value to the public. The preservation of the premises in the predominantly natural or open condition preserves the historic rural character of the area. The premises contain land of conservation interest to the town of Westwood, and the protection of the premises is consistent with the Town of Westwood Comprehensive Plan dated April 1999, which advocates preserving, protecting, and enhancing the rural character of the town, its open space, and its wildlife habitat. Those are the purposes. Prohibited, there are lots of things prohibited. Almost everything's prohibited, but quite specifically prohibited: mining, excavating, dredging, cutting, removing, or otherwise destroying trees. Then there are the exceptions that Karen mentioned. And one of those exceptions is indeed agricultural uses, but it says that the exceptions can only be exercised in a way that's consistent with the conservation purposes that I just mentioned, and that they can only be done with the consent of the land trust as the grantee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Erin Rubin. I live at 979 High Street. This is a little tall.
You can
Oh,
put that.
thank you.
Yeah, there we go.
So I will say I had no plans to speak, but I feel compelled. I also have no dog in the hunt, if you will. So I know a lot of people here, it's very clear, feel very passionate about one side or the other. I will say personally, I feel very passionate about conservation of our land in Westwood. I think we all benefit from that. I also myself have been a visitor of the Bean Farm. I've bought a Christmas tree there before, so I very much appreciate what Bean Farm and any small business or farm brings to the community. I signed the petition, so I want to represent just quickly here today kind of the voice of the confused person in our town. I've been a resident for 9 years. Like I said, this is, I think, maybe only the second meeting I've actually attended in town. It is a New Year's resolution to get more involved, so thank you for having me. But I think I would encourage you guys to really consider whatever the right words are, endorsing, approving the articles put forward as you're comfortable. And I think it's just because we're looking for clarity and transparency. And that was how I read the petition, not so much to, show up with a set opinion, but really just to ask for more information. I know that at some of our recent meetings, select board meetings, there have been a lot of questions. I think it's been well addressed and documented here that a lot of people don't feel like they're getting all the information that they want. So I don't think this is as kind of malicious as it may seem or feel to some people. For a lot of us, it's really just wanting to understand what is a very significant and growing issue at our town. So just wanted to add my piece to this. Sorry it wasn't more eloquently stated, but I appreciate you guys letting me have a couple minutes.
Thank you.
My name's John M. Greenway. I'm here with my wife because...
Address,
So-
your address, please.
44 Spruce Drive, Westwood.
Thanks.
And we've got a little piece of just an acre, like everybody has in Westwood. And in part of that land, I've got 2 areas of wildflowers. And the number at the beginning of the season, I'm looking at my fruit trees and I'm looking for the insects. Nothing. I've got raspberries. Bumblebees love raspberry pollen. When at the beginning of the season, maybe 1. it takes it weeks before they build up to the number of insects. If I don't pollinate my fruit trees, no fruit, no insects. So it's essential to keep pieces of land like a meadow for all these insects, and the thought of ploughing it under for commercial use is just beyond belief. I'm very sympathetic with the bean farm and their need for more land to make their farm commercially viable, but to plough under a meadow, that's not the way things are done. And I also wonder that the town has allocated the money for this lawsuit. Does the Westwood Land Trust have money allocated by the town to fight the lawsuit? How do they fight it? Or are they left with no money? Because I expect they don't have any. So I hope people just recommend to keep a meadow. It's what we need, desperately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, John J. Cronin Jr., 651 Clapboard Tree Street, lifelong Westwood resident. Under the purposes of the conservation restriction number 5, the protection of the premises will conserve prime agricultural soils, which are, according to the USDA Natural Resource Conservation Service, are present on approximately 10 acres of the premises, consisting of Paston fine sandy loam and Woodbridge fine sandy loam soils, Class 2. Agriculture, further is stated, agricultural activities including connection therewith and without limitation, the use of fertilizers, herbicides, clearing, plowing, planting, and similar agricultural activities. So all the owners of the premises which may consent may be withheld by the owner of the sole discretion and the construction and use of a roadside farm stand or similar structure. There would be no reason whatsoever why agriculture would be permitted use with a farm stand if it was not contemplated by the donor and by the Beans and signed by members who are present here today, both the donor as well as a select board member at the time. There was no mention of any sort of meadow. There was never any mention about preserving anything except the agricultural soils, in which in the best use for the town moving forward is always and will be agriculture and the preservation of the bean farm. Thank you very much.
Hello, Stephen Hart, 174 Pond Plain Road. Just for full disclosure, I'm a member of the Westwood Environmental Action Committee, member of the Westwood Conservation Commission. I also happen to be on the Westwood Land Trust. So I just want a quick clarification about something that was stated earlier. Read the report. At the December 2023 Select Board meeting, I don't remember the exact date, the consultant that the Westwood Land Trust hired did prepare the report for us, made a presentation to the Select Board, and the Select Board, that was preliminary findings at that point that the consultant used to write the report, and the Select Board did have an opportunity at that meeting to question the consultant on their findings. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
One more.
Hi. Alice Smith, 78 Gay Street in Westwood. I just wanted to, I've been looking at the conservation restriction just for my own edification, and the purpose of it's explicitly stated that to protect the outstanding and unique qualities of the premise for their predominantly natural and open condition for the benefit of the public. It strikes me that the lawsuit, and I guess this is sort of an advocacy as opposed to a general comment, but it strikes me that a lawsuit against the Westwood Land Trust, who is specifically designated as under The enforcement of the terms of the Conservation Commission shall be at the discretion of the grantee. The grantee is the Westwood Land Trust. I'm not clear, and perhaps the selectmen at some point will clarify for us what the public benefit is to going to an agricultural. It's not, to me, a public benefit. A public benefit implies to me that it includes a lot of people. In this case, the land trust, the suit against the land trust appears to be specifically benefiting an individual person.
If anybody else would like to speak after Peter, maybe walk over now.
Peter Bean, 284 Manhattan Street. I just want to speak to that woman's last comment regarding public benefit. The public benefit here is to keep the farm open to all Westwood residents. It is to keep additional open land in Westwood. It's a symbiotic relationship between the meadow and the farm. This is not a commercial farm, it's a family-run operation. It's been a family-run operation for 50 plus years. Let's call it what it is. That meadow, it was farmland. It was farmland for 100 years before it was purchased by Duncan McFarland. The Beans and everybody else in West would appreciate everything that McFarland's has done as far as conservation. Okay? And we're here today to express our desire in keeping the farm running, having a place for parents and children to come. I've had story after story. After my father passed away, I got calls from people I never met. Thank you so much. We moved to Westwood. We were broke. We come up there, we buy 2 apples, and my kids would play with the bunny rabbits for 4 hours. And that's how we passed a Sunday. We want to keep that going. This is not a commercial operation. This is a family farm. Thank you.
Hi, Claire Galkowski, 320 Dover Road. I think one question that many of us would like to know the answer to is, what is the real motivation of the Select Board to take these extreme actions against the Westwood Land Trust? That has not come to light. I don't know what, as has been said before, I don't know what the benefit to the whole town is. If it's monetary, well, they had an opportunity to sell the land back to the McFarlands. But one has to wonder, what is the real story going on? And that is not clear, to me at least, and to many people I've spoken to. So I'm hoping that this town meeting will encourage the answering of that question and the reversal of this action by the town. Thank you.
Thank you. We will, I see no one else getting up, so we will close our public comment. Mr. Chair, do you need to close your select board meeting or leave it open in case we have questions?
We have the rest of the warrant for town meeting, annual town meeting.
Point of privilege, I can't hear. Thank you.
I believe we have further business on the agenda after this, do we not?
No.
You sure about the annual town meeting articles?
No.
We're not presenting the first list? I thought we were.
No, but do you need to leave it open in case we have questions when we're going through deliberation?
Let's leave it open.
Okay. All right, so we will move into our deliberation and discussions. Your observers, there's no speaking or engaging with the FinCom while they're going through this process and this discussion. So we'll go article by article. We can discuss them as we normally do, and then
vote. So we're going to discuss each article and then vote on each article, and then to the next one, discuss and vote.
Yeah, that's what we normally do.
So Article 1.
If I might,
Sure.
just some overall observations that I have, and I think applies to all the articles that we're going to be discussing. We are not here tonight to try to decide the outcome of the lawsuit. We are, in my view, we're going to focus only on whether or not we're going to recommend that the town meeting take action one way or the other on these articles. And even at the special town meeting, all the people who are frustrated because they're not getting answers, well, you're not going to get answers at the town meeting either, or you may not. You can make comments, but there's no requirement that anybody's going to answer those comments. And I feel the frustration of people. But there's no requirement, even if the select board were meeting in person, that they would have to answer the comments that are made. And that goes the same thing for the special town meeting. Conservation restrictions can be changed. I applaud Mike for reading it. I've read it 3 times, I still don't understand it. And some parts of it are, I would call opaque, all right? But if the holder of the conservation restriction agrees with the owner of the land to change it, you can change it. So, all right, let's get those 2 parties together and change it so it reflects what we really want.
Chris, so just so you know, I worked for the Land Trust for a number of years. I was working for the Land Trust when this went through. The way I understand conservation restrictions is that they're set in stone. So you put
A common misunderstanding, right?
No.
They
I
can
think
be
that's
changed.
why
No
we've
comment
always.
from the audience, or you'll be asked to leave.
All right.
This is the way I understand it. You have to be really specific about what you want to do in a conservation restriction because
Okay.
it's in perpetuity. So you can't change it.
That's irrelevant to our discussion, all right? I believe they can be changed with the parties, but that's really irrelevant. And in my view, both parties here, both the Select Board and the Westwood Land Trust, are both acting unreasonably in this situation. Our job is to focus on these articles. And what did I write down? Oh, there was one question that came up that I'm not sure is accurate, based on my reading of the conservation restriction, and that somebody said that the agricultural exception allows only the owner to conduct that activity, and I didn't see that at all in the conservation restriction. But again, you know, that's just another avenue for the parties to get together and try to resolve this.
So I think that was Karen Manor-Metzold who said that. And it struck me because I think the owner is the town, correct?
Correct.
So that if the town wants to use it, so it sort of seemed counter to what the land trust wants, because if the town gets to say what happens and the land trust can't unreasonably stop them from doing it. I think that was a little bit confusing to me, that was brought up because the town owns it.
In my view, all right, and the CR says rural character, but yet it allows agricultural use.
Right.
To me, in 2026, we live in 2026, not 1726. In 2026, rural does not necessarily mean farming.
But
to me,
agriculture
all right?
does mean farming.
So whatever we think about what's going on here, let's apply 2026 common sense.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Well,
2026 common sense.
what do we want to happen to the land today, rather than what people might have had in mind when they entered into this document?
Well, I don't know that we can do that. I mean, you can't interpret a contract that was very clearly stated, whatever, 29 years ago.
Obviously, it's not clearly stated.
Well, and that's what the judicial, that's the
Right.
reason why I think the select board has the right, acting on the town's behalf, to enforce what they view was a contract. It's up to the judge. I mean, they've gone already in front of that judge,
Right.
and they're waiting for the initial ruling back. And as was stated earlier, if it comes back and says, no, the land trust can withhold it, it's over. So I think that the select board is operating correctly in looking for that clarification, that judicial clarification that they want.
Let me just say one other thing. It is not true that even if a member of this commission votes to recommend indefinite postponement, that that person doesn't agree with the land trust.
Yes,
Right.
thank you for stating that.
I signed the petition, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with the land trust or I agree with the select board. So don't read into what individual members, how individual members vote and assume that they have a certain position on the merits. That's all I have to say.
So I think in that vein, I think that it's important to just make a quick note that I think a lot of what people were bringing up as part of the discussion points really weren't even specific about the articles. It was more about items that are outside of the article, about the way decisions are conducted and the way the community involvement is conducted. For my clarity and for clarity here, that's not what we're gonna vote on.
Correct.
Right.
We're voting on the articles before us. As
Right, and that doesn't necessarily translate into we agree with the select board, or we disagree with the select board, or we agree with the land trust, or disagree with the land trust. This is not about process, it's about the words on this sheet, and that's it.
Right.
I think that,
Go ahead.
I think it's important to be mindful of what our role is as a group. Our role is to be the eyes and ears for those that will be attending the town meeting and who didn't have the privilege or the opportunity to take part in this dialogue and this discussion. So when we vote, the purpose of our vote is to provide that insight from us so that they can evaluate it on their own. Doesn't mean they're going to agree, doesn't mean they're going to disagree. That's just an additional part of the meeting. The point that I'm struck by is the non-binding point. So we're going to be providing our insight from this dialogue that we had tonight, which was great. Thank you, and everybody that presented thoughtful and conscientious material for us to consider. The reality is, if we are to believe that it's non-binding, then it's important for us to present to the town members that are going to be attending that, yeah, you can have a dialogue, but at the end of the day, really, what is it? What are we going to accomplish here, other than having that dialogue? And dialogue is important, so I don't want to diminish that. But it's not going to change anything relative to what the select board has done to this point. So, to Chris, to your point, a vote of, as I see it, indefinite postponement doesn't put us in a position where we're saying we're for or against. What we're saying to those who will be in attendance for the town meeting is that, in our view, based upon the information, and I'll speak for myself, that I received, there's not enough here to support me going up and saying, hey, do this, do that. Okay?
Yeah, I'd like to share some perspective, and I also thank everybody who participated and came to the microphone and shared their perspective. It's clear to me what I've heard, that there is ambiguity in this current written document, right? I'm not saying it's in one favor or the other. It's clear that it's come to the point where we've engaged the courts to read this document and decide one way or another. And if it were clear, we wouldn't need to go to the courts, and people would decide that early on based on the document. So it's clear to me there's enough ambiguity in the current legal document that was signed 25 years ago. It's also become clear to me tonight that Mr. McFarland and his wife, who so kindly donated this land to the town 25 years ago, although he didn't speak directly, I think his counsel spoke and a relative spoke. It's clear to me based on that they do not wish for this land to be used for profit farming activities. I can't speak for what happened 25 years ago and what agreements between Mr. Bean and Mr. McFarland were. I wasn't there. I wasn't part of the discussion. I haven't been part of any of that discussion. But I'd say what's clear to me is that the document is ambiguous and not crystal clear, and that the family who, generously donated this land is opposed to this use of the land. So to me, again, on a personal population of one, it seems that the actions being taken today are putting the wishes of the individuals who donated this land secondary to contractual ambiguity and interpretation. We talked about precedent earlier in terms of what precedent this sets for the town meeting. I don't think it sets a great precedent as a community if somebody who makes a donation, whether it's a building, funds, land, whatever it is, ends up in a legal dispute as opposed to, somebody speaking on their behalf who donated that land. If this land was donated 400 years ago and the people and the family aren't here to represent themselves, I could very well understand needing to take this to a legal court, but that's not the case. We have, an opportunity to hear from those people tonight. So my own personal opinion is it's clearly ambiguous. The people who donated the land clearly are not in favor of this proposed use. And I think that this action being taken by the citizen, the petition, I think it is using a tool that we have provided to the public to raise and shed additional light on this matter, on this subject. Now, in terms of our recommendation on FinCom, I think if we vote, I think we are voting if we vote in support, we are voting that there is some disagreement, or we may not agree that the current path or plan or proposed litigation is necessarily the best use of town funds, given whatever set of evidence that we've been provided or context we've been shared. So I guess it's very easy to get lost in a legal document. We all sign legal documents every day when we sign up for softwares, we download an app on our phone, and I promise none of us read the T's and C's or everything that's in those contracts. I can't speak for what happened 25 years ago, but all I can say is I think we are, at the macro level, putting the desires of a donor who we should all be thankful to, secondary to contract ambiguity and taking this, to that extent. So, but I'm very much open to other people's perspective on anything I just shared.
I don't think it's as ambiguous as you mentioned. I don't think that agricultural conservation restriction would be in there unless there was a clear design, as I think Mr. Bean stated, to have agriculture be a possibility down the road. I am sure the lawyers looked at it, and it's not one of those that would have been glossed over. It's not, it wouldn't have been missed. It was very clear in terms of the fact that the reason why it was put in there. But more importantly, I think that, and I think it's Christine to what you were talking about before, which is what these words here that we're to vote on say, and I have a real concern with approving something in which what we're talking about is both non-binding and unenforceable. We're talking about the legislature, which would be the town meeting, directing the select board, the executive branch, to do something, and you just can't do that. So, especially, it's agreed by the petitioner that Article 1, they agree. Article 4, they agree. These are not binding, nor are they enforceable. So to me, I struggle with that because I do think it creates a precedent. And if you read the counsel that Pat had asked for, they talk about how to try to run a town, big or small, in which you are constantly swayed or constantly back and forth, it just bogs down. You couldn't operate the town. But more importantly, I do think it creates a precedent that we don't want to go down. That I, speaking for myself, would not be able to support. And that to me is the bigger and more pressing and overriding issue.
I'm going to piggyback on what Mr. Banford said. I'm not a big fan. I don't really care about precedents. To me, it's more important to do the right thing. And with the system of government we have, this is not a smart path. I don't believe this is a smart path to go down. If we disagree with the selectmen and what they're doing, and effectively this is what a lot of these petitions are saying. They don't agree with what the select board did. and I'll single a board member out. If I don't agree with something that Rob Gotti does, I have a better tool against him. I'm not going to vote for him, and I'm going to support his opponent. But if we start micromanaging the select board and disagree with everything they do, we're going to have 15 town meetings, spending whatever we spend at a town meeting, and we're not going to get anything done quickly. I mean, governments aren't really known for their efficiency in getting things done to begin with. This would make it worse. And whether I agree or disagree with the use of the land, I think is irrelevant. I disagree with micromanaging the form of government we have. We have a town meeting. You go there, you can speak up. Everybody has a right to speak. Jim is not going to stop somebody from talking. You go respectfully, you speak your mind, that's it. But that's just my opinion.
Good. I think Margaret, Susan, Paula, down the line.
I think that at this time where we're seeing democracy challenged, it is one of the things that makes small town government stand out. We don't have a history of having 2 or 3 of these a year. This seems to be an anomaly, and if there's people feeling strongly about it, to go out and, they want to be heard, I think we should honor that. This is one of the opportunities for democracy to be in play. If it becomes abusive and we're doing, $4 or $5, $30,000 meetings a year, we may need to look at some other issues. But right now, I think people obviously want to be heard on this. And I think some of this is problematic because you're right, it's not binding, and it's obviously something that, probably legally, it's going to come down to the court making some decisions. These probably could have been written better, but congratulations to Erin for bringing them forward. But the opportunity at this point is for us to practice democracy as a small town expected it. So I would look at these in terms of not whether, which side of the argument, but that people have a chance to have begin that conversation, have a voice.
I echo those sentiments, and I think, it's maybe not a perfect process, and it's unfortunate that we have to be here tonight for this special town meeting, potentially, but it is the process that the law allows for, and we heard tonight in the history of our town, it's not like it's used, there aren't 200 people, obtaining signatures every other month. I think it's a sign that I think there is a lot of frustration, and I've only been on the FinCom for a year, but with living through the fire station project, we heard, a lot of similar sentiments with respect to transparency and clarity. So I'm hearing that again, with this lawsuit. And one of the things that I've been struggling with that I feel like is really missing, and I know, Chris, you're absolutely right, that select board, they don't have to answer, questions. We can ask questions. But I think it does a disservice to the residents and to the taxpayers of the town for the select board to not be, transparent and more forthcoming on these important topics. And I listened to the select board meeting last week, and then I heard similar comments tonight. And I just think that I understand that the town, Mr. Gotti stated that, that there's a contract in place, and it's important for the town to know and understand its rights under contracts, and I respect that. However, what I think is missing is, this conservation restriction has been in place for 25 years. So what sort of prompted, after 25 years of living with this conservation restriction, for the town to suddenly decide that we have to know at this point in time? So I think that explanation for me just rings a little bit hollow. I would appreciate a further explanation of what is the benefit of why now, after 25 years, I want to hear it from the town. I understand the bean farm and their interest, and I have a lot of respect and appreciation for that. But I think it's important for the town to, inform its residents as to why, after 25 years, do they decide, what, we think an agricultural use would be important for this tract of land, so much so that we want to pursue litigation. So I think that's really, and I understand, the frustrations, and as to the warrant articles, again, they may not be perfect, but I I do wonder whether Article 2 is in fact non-binding. I understand we have that opinion. I don't pretend to be an expert on municipal law, like Attorney Goldberg, but I did read it, and I looked at some of the cases because I was curious, and I'm just not 100% convinced that that provision, maybe it needs to be amended, or, you know, but that wouldn't be binding on the town.
Paula?
So, I would say, I do wonder, what you're saying is true, like, why now? But I think, you know, we see there's a lot of farms are going away. You know, it's a big problem across the state, and I know always as part of the land trust, we were very concerned with when we lost a farm. I remember there was the, on the corner, I don't know if, who in this room will remember it, but on Fox Hill in Gay, there was horses that were there, and it was great. You know, you'd go by and the kids would love to see the horses, and then that was gone to development. So I think, you know, it's in terms of farming, maybe it's because we're losing you know, you read about it all the time, that we're losing farms across the state, across the country. But I can't speak to the select board. I do know that I listen to the select board meetings, and I hear a lot of people giving their opinions. So whether or not, you know, point of order, they can't respond, I heard raised voices from both sides. At the last meeting, it seemed like people were getting a chance to talk. So I'm not sure why people aren't feeling heard. I get it, you know, maybe they're not getting the answers that they want. But I will say that in a conservation restriction, you know, what you put in there means something. And if I don't understand why it has the words agriculture in there, if they never thought they would be farming. To me, that's a sticking point, because that, by definition, you know, is agriculture means farming. So why would you put that in there if eventually you weren't going to do it? So I can't speak for the select board. All I can say is it all brings up lots of questions, and I don't know if the select board's allowed to come up and address some of these things, or
You can ask them a question.
But they don't have to answer.
Right. They don't have to answer.
Yeah, right. So
their meeting's open, so they can come
Right.
up if you have a question.
So I'm going to say, you know, just looking around this room, I see three attorneys that I really respect, Pat, Dan, and Mary Ann, and they're, you know, they all are interpreting this in a different way. And it's my understanding that because there was that sort of difficulty, they went to a court and said, you give us a ruling. Mary Ann, could you answer that?
Mary Ann LeBlanc, 4 Chickadee Lane. I'm not sure of exactly what your question is, Paula.
Why? So if you all had a different opinion, how did it come to bring it to the lawsuit?
Let me say this, if I may. I've been here. I wasn't able to get a seat, but I've been watching outside the entire meeting. I want to thank you, Mr. Chair, if I may, through the chair. I just want to say thank you to everyone who is here. This is democracy, and we're all here because we love our democracy. So thank you all for participating. I sat where Bill sat for 5 years. We had meetings much larger than this back in the Islington Center redevelopment days. I know what it's like to chair a meeting like this, and it's wonderful when people show up and participate. I want to commend Nancy Dempsey, Karen Manor-Metzold, who stood up earlier, and they talked about their duty to the land trust, which they have, and that is why they are here, and so many others as well, and I respect that. And I want folks to know that from the select board perspective, we have a duty as well. Our duty is to protect the town and its assets. And this land that we are talking about is owned by the town. And we are trying to do what we think is in the best interest of the town. And we know that not everybody agrees with that action. And that's part of the job. We know that many of the positions we take are not going to be what everybody wants. That's the nature of the job, and that's why we do this, because we love this town, and we believe in democracy, and we know that not everybody is going to agree. And don't run for this job unless you can take that. So that said, there is this fairly complicated CR. You've heard a number of attorneys talk about it. I'm an attorney. I'm not a land use attorney. I'm not a municipal law attorney. But I have represented thousands of clients over my 30-plus year career. And what I will say is that I have always advised clients not to speak on any matter that is in litigation unless you are in a deposition or at trial, and you are required to do so. That, unfortunately, is the nature of litigation. And what makes this so frustrating to me, because every statement made here is on the record. I will say, and some of you may have seen this months ago, somebody had asked me, gee, why are we doing this? Would you come and talk to us? I said, sure. She put it out on Facebook. Mary Ann's going to come talk to people about this. Come and meet with her. We went to Cafe Nero. We met for a couple of hours and talked about this. Some of you I've heard from, many of you I haven't. And unfortunately, because we are in litigation, we are limited in what we can say, and we have to act through our attorney. Any of you who have been involved in litigation hopefully have a sense of that. It is very, very frustrating. We have to act in executive session because this is a legal matter. We are going to the court to get an interpretation on this so that we can do our job to protect your assets. We all own that land. We are very much hoping and discussing with the Land Trust a possible resolution. As Ms. Dempsey said, we are looking for a win-win for this community. And I hope that this is an opportunity for us to all engage more. Regardless of the decision of the FinCom, we are going to have a special town meeting, period. It's been voted. The process has been done, and Ms. Sibley, you have followed the process. This is democracy. We're having a special town meeting, and now it's up to the FinCom to vote on whether to recommend those 4 articles or recommend indefinite postponement. That is the process, up or down, so to speak, as Nada said. Indefinite postponement means it's not going to, there are many reasons for voting indefinite postponement. Sometimes it's the crafting of the language. In any event, that is the process. I'm sorry I've gone on so long. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope that helps, Paul.
No, it does. I wanted to hear from, I think there's been a lot of people saying what you guys are doing, and I'd like for you to say it, so that helped.
Thank you.
Hey, Bill? Oh, go ahead.
So, yeah, just like one thing, to the warrant article actually itself, because, from my side, I hope both sides win, right? And it's kind of unfortunate we're at this spot. Looking at the warrant article, I would say it feels like we're so far down this path and we need to now make decisions that to block the town, to block the suit to come to resolution, at this point, in my opinion, let it run its course. It's in the courts. Let them figure it out and make a decision. One side wins, one side loses, and that will set the precedent for the town for how this is handled between the town and the land trust going forward. Maybe on some of these things, hopefully never again. But to the article itself, again, I hope both sides could get the land. But at this point, this is the next step in the process, and to block that seems like a step not worth taking. To the article itself.
I agree. Can we actually put the article up? Is that, can we?
It's right there.
6A.
Is it, but
I
like
see
the
that.
actual language, I don't know. if We
It
wanna,
says to see if the town will see
That is
under
right there.
6A.
yep.
That's.
Oh, okay, that is the
Yeah.
actual
Yes.
language.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Immediate discontinuancies for the foreseeable time.
Go ahead.
Could you explain, I heard some reference earlier to this coming out of a litigation line item. Is there a litigation line item in the budget, or is this under the town council expenses line item? I'm just curious.
I don't know the answer to that, and we don't have anyone from,
We appropriate a set amount for the town council. It's more than town council's salary. The excess is used by the town to pay for outside counsel. So we've already appropriated the money. And it's up to the select board then to decide whether to use that money and how to use that money. So this isn't a petition to rescind that appropriation, even if the Massachusetts law allows town meetings to do that, which I don't know.
So this is all coming out of the town council line item? you think?
That's what that would be my guess.
Bill,
yeah, go ahead.
can we move to a vote?
Sure. Do you have any comments before we go to a vote?
I mean, I don't. To me, well, I do a quick comment. I disagree, Seth, that us blocking this is a step back. I mean, we're not blocking anything.
No, not us blocking. I didn't mean that. I meant, well, the article is for the town meeting to vote. Do you want to see the select board, immediately withdraw, discontinue? So if the town meeting were to vote on that, I don't know if this is binding or not, because that's not certain. So it's not binding. Not binding either way. I'm saying, but for us discussing that particular article for recommendation, that was my point of view, but not us blocking going to town meeting, of course. Yeah, of course.
And really what we're getting at is, yes, voting affirmatively says that we will discontinue any legal pursuit.
Yes voting is our recommendation
Recommendation
to the town at
at
town
town
meeting
meeting.
to vote yes in favor of a non-binding warrant article that basically says that the town feels that it should be under advisement to the select board that they withdraw any litigation.
But even if the town votes to do that, it's still not, it doesn't mean anything.
100%. But us voting yes right now would be a recommendation to the town at town meeting. To vote in favor of this warrant article, which then effectively sends a message to the select board.
Yeah.
An indefinite postponement is essentially us saying, depending on how we want to look at it, is us saying, this isn't really the way to handle this, right? This isn't the way to go about this, It might be because we say it's in the courts, let the courts figure it out. It could be various reasoning. But the comments made that it's a no vote are false. The indefinite postponement is basically telling the town, you shouldn't bother with this right now. You should let it run its course and stay out of it, right?
Yeah.
Can I share the last comment, or one of the last comments if we would vote? Back to where Ms. Sibley was talking about, these four articles and, importance and differentiation. I'm not sure there's a lot of differentiation between any of them. I mean, with three being specific to information, which I think is the least important because that can be done regardless. I personally believe that, we should be voting primarily if we vote on one. To me, that carries the essence of 2 and 4, and I don't think 3 is material because of the FOIA aspect that can be requested otherwise. So my own opinion is, I'd like to vote on 1 and then recommend indefinite postponement on 2, 3, and 4 because they're all similar in nature, and I think it would cut down the number of articles that maybe go up for long-term discussion. But
I disagree with that because I see 4 differently with the wording, just in terms of forcing more public discourse on the topic. 1 is recommending that they withdraw the suit and take no further action. 4 is that they no longer don't take action without engaging further public discourse, which is what the primary conversation was with everybody, which is we want voices heard, we want more discussion, we want more openness. So so I disagree with that just because of that distinction in the wording.
Fair. I might actually, in my own opinion, feel like 4 is a more sensible message and request than 1, which is cold turkey, drop everything, do not pass go. Right.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I think 4, if the goal is transparency and conversation and dialogue, to me, thank you for making the point. I think 4 is probably more in that direction than stop now, do not spend another ballot. Granted, these are all non-binding, which, in my opinion, I mean, these are spirit focused, not sort of letter of the law focused. I still think that this sends a message here, this sends a message at town meeting, whatever these come to, whether or not they're binding. I think it's a clear message from the taxpayers and the town in terms of where people's heads are at. So I withdraw my comment, and I agree in terms of personally 4 feels like if the goal here is transparency, if the goal here is openness, if the goal here is some reconsideration in terms of the elements of this whole path, that feels the most.
Can I just ask for a process check right now?
Yeah.
Just so we all are on the same page where we are. Are we voting individually on all 4? Are we voting as one group? What is our responsibility right now?
Yeah, we have to vote article by article.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is, we can do hands, you know, and so she can capture, so Allison can capture the yes versus no votes. But before we go there.
Yes
I just
versus
want to indefinite postponement, I'm sorry. But Pat, can you just walk us through the indefinite postponement and first, yes, and how it all works for everyone, so just so they all know? Because I know that always hangs us up every time we go through these votes.
That's a good question. I don't know why
Indefinite postponement is you're telling town meeting that you want to indefinitely postpone any action on that particular warrant article. It's that simple. It's you telling town meeting that you don't think they should take action on it.
Yeah, and then
We can vote no.
But right
though,
now-
too. We can also vote no.
You
You
could.
could, yes.
I'm of the opinion you could. There's other people who don't believe you can, but I believe that you can vote no. And a lot of towns do it differently. Some towns have things when they recommend that the town meeting lay it on the table, which is essentially an indefinite postponement. Different terminology's been used because this form of government's been around a couple hundred years. It came before the internet and social media and everything else we deal with. So it's a little antiquated, but
Pat, I have another procedural question. In our agenda, we have roll call for the votes. Because we're in person.
you're in person.
We can do hands. I just want to make sure everybody's clear that even though it says roll call, we can do hands up.
Yep.
Okay, but just clarification on the indefinite postponement. At the meeting, even if we recommend that, the audience at that meeting, the participants can override it and
Yep.
decide to go ahead and
course.
still have that
Yes.
conversation and debate,
Absolutely.
Yes.
even on the non-binding stuff.
Yes.
The conversation will go on at town meeting.
Yeah.
Right.
Town meeting's going to happen
Yeah.
because the signatures have been certified. There's no rolling that clock back.
Then Mike, you had another?
And there's no way the litigation's going to be ended by February 2nd.
We don't know that, but I mean.
Well, you don't know that, yeah.
Well, even if the judge decides to rule on what's pending before the judge, there's an appeal process. So I've been fairly certain that you're going to hear from the select board the same thing you heard from Mary Ann. We're not going to comment because it's in litigation.
Right.
Well, so, Mr. Pareda, always one of my favorite FinCom members. It's possible we could resolve the matter.
It's possible. That's absolutely true. You're right.
I think both sides legitimately would like it to go away. So that's the good news.
And at this point, we still have town meeting, even if it
Yep.
is resolved.
Absolutely.
Okay, if I may?
Yes.
I'd like to move to a vote.
Yes.
First article, should I spell it out?
You don't, we can see it.
No, but, all right, but I mean from a vote standpoint. So I move to vote indefinite postponement on petition article number 1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
So now we vote.
So vote is
A vote.
yes in favor of indefinite postponement or no, not in favor of indefinite.
All right.
Show of
So-
hands for
If you
indefinite.
vote, yeah, one second.
voting
Oh,
yes.
yes, yes, you're in favor of indefinite postponement. of
For
the
this
article.
Article 1.
For this Article 1.
Article, okay. Yeah.
Everybody follow? Okay.
Yeah.
So all those
In favor?
in favor, raise your hand. Probably easier with the noes.
Mhm.
And then those opposed to indefinite postponement, so the noes.
But just to be clear, it's, yeah, this is the no on indefinite postponement.
Two, and then anyone abstain? I thought all hands were up, but. No.
Should I keep going?
Yes, just give Allison 1 second to.
You can.
Yep.
Okay, for petition Article 2, I move that we vote for indefinite postponement.
Second.
So we have a second. All those in favor? Hands? It's all the same, right? No? And no.
For petition Article number 3, I move the vote for indefinite postponement.
Second.
All those in favor?
To be clear, hang on, so 3 is the one that we can FOIA. They can get that information. Yeah.
Opposed? That was
And for petition Article 4, I move the vote for indefinite postponement.
Second.
second. All those in favor?
Okay, count again, Bill. Bill, somebody just raised their hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And opposed? 2, 3, 4. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Just think with this ambiguity,
Rob needs to close. I think we have to just finish the last few things.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to close this select board meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn the select board meeting?
Whether you're on both sides, and it's really hard.
I don't think that there is, that's the
Thank you,
thing.
Joe.
It's
Seconded?
hard for us to choose.
Very
That's
good.
our
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Whether or not we should, yeah, whether or not.
Yes, we have more business.
Thank If they don't get to litigate this, then we basically told one side.
We're still in session, please.
Thank you for your contribution.
Giving their opinion all over.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Oh, I think they, but they did the last one?
You need this all tomorrow, right?
So, do you want me to repeat the minutes?
Right, but I think it's unfair to say that they blanket, like, they've had so many listening. We said it about FS1, there were so many listening sessions, so many things done, and everybody, oh, you didn't ask for anything.
So meeting, you guys want to work through this? Yeah.
Fundamental question.
Okay. The minutes from the last meeting? Anyone want to make?
Motion to accept the minutes as
I
presented.
second.
All those,
Hold on, everybody, all the FinCom members.
Please
all the
keep
FinCom
it
members.
down.
We have more business to do. So there's been a motion to approve the last minutes, and it's been seconded. Yeah.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alex?
You guys approving the minutes?
Minutes.
Oh,
The
Or,
mi-
or
yeah,
there's
well, then-
abstention.
I'll abstain.
So
Abstain,
I'm
okay.
gonna abstain. I don't know if I was here.
How many abstains?
Abstain.
No, that's, sorry,
I
that
was
was
virtual one in December.
Abstain.
Yeah, totally missed it.
Abstain, 3. Everyone else was yes?
Oh my God. Do that again. Please do that again.
Okay.
That's, no.
All those in favor of approving the minutes from the last meeting?
We just voted on that.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Give Alice.
Abstentions?
Give her a second. You.
Okay, 2.
Are you abstaining or?
Abstain.
That's
3 abstentions.
Yeah.
I thought
3
it was a no.
abstentions.
Just one hand will do.
You too?
I abstained.
Okay, 4.
So there's 4.
Christine.
I just don't
Four,
know.
there's 4.
Yeah. I just,
Because it changed.
Do we have any other business anyone wants to?
No.
Well, thank you guys for reconfiguring things to be here in person so we could have this dialogue. I think it meant a lot to have this like with people here and be able to talk with them about it. So I really appreciate every single one of you coming in person for this. Our next meeting will be virtual.
Bill, are we going to switch gears to like the fire station or the middle school? Do you know, like between now and town meeting?
No, not before.
We are considering warrant articles before us, so I don't believe that there are any articles that will come before us for funding for those two items.
So I don't think those will come up. So the planning board gave a preview tonight of their articles. I think at the next meeting on the 28th, we'll get a preview of some of the other articles.
Isn't the committee, the FS1 committee, trying to come up with something that's a stopgap until we figure it out? Or-
Sure.
I think they're evaluating a few things.
Would you like me to?
I'm good, go ahead.
The FS1 committee is meeting just about every other Monday, and the select board asked them to give their recommendations to their meeting in the beginning of March.
Okay.
Are we passing these?
Yeah. And you got some.
What are we doing in 2 weeks?
I have to think. I think we'll have some updates on warrant articles, right?
Well, yeah, that's when the warrant articles will be brought before us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should have, yes.
And then I think the February meeting will have the final budget. Yeah. When's our next meeting? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. We go 2 weeks now, all the way through.
Oh, great.
You like that?
So
We'll try to do virtual the next few meetings.
one quick thing I want to throw out there is that myself and Bill are going to stick here and we're going to write the, findings of the FinCom. If anybody on the dissenting, especially on the 4 votes, Article 4, wants to help and kind of put some of the dissenting opinion, that would be great. We're going to do that right now because we have to turn this around literally tomorrow in order to make it to the mailing so that everybody will get it at their homes. And that has to happen, like literally there's guidelines of when it has to be sent out before town meeting. So we don't have any time, so we're going to do it tonight.
I just want to thank everybody. I think we had a good, healthy discussion, and I don't think we've necessarily always had that on votes in this matter, so.
Agreed.
I think perspectives were shared, I think opinions were shared, I think pros, cons, other perspectives were encouraged, and I think the same with the public, so I just want to say that I think that was a well-run meeting despite a contentious topic with clearly opposing sides, not even considering FinCom, just in general.
Yeah.
I think it's hard when you're in a room like this and people speak with such authority and they mean as if, no, it's not binding. Yes, it is. If you don't know, don't say it. And so sometimes people just come and they say something and because they said it out loud, it's so. And I think it's really important that we get facts. And I think everybody did. There's been a real high temperature in the town with everything. And I think, to your point, Ox, a lot of people listened, and even if you don't agree, you don't have to be nasty about it.
I think, though, that we do serve a huge benefit to the community, just to give them a platform. A lot of what we do isn't binding at the end of the day. It's a recommendation. We don't get to vote and make decisions, but I think that it's an opportunity for the public to be heard. and to see if there's other folks in the town that, you know, feel the same way, and it just helps to put things out there that maybe there wouldn't be a platform for
Yeah.
otherwise. So I think that there's just a nice benefit to the community for us meeting outside of even just like the articles that we do, just giving people an opportunity to get together and voice opinions.
Yeah, I think in some ways it was almost like a dry run for when the town meeting happens. And I thought the conversation was good. I mean, it was all, yeah, we've seen it recently where there is no civil discourse.
Right.
So I thought that the comments were all on topic and well done by all
Yeah,
groups.
and I thought Mary Ann's point was right on. There's a lawsuit. It's pending litigation, so there's certain things that shouldn't be discussed, can't be discussed.
Right.
And it is what it is, but even through that, we heard both sides present their position pretty clearly.
Yep.
So, hey, the town's gonna hear it at town meeting.
And I understand that, Mike, and I wasn't suggesting that now that lawsuit is pending. My point is more like leading up to the lawsuit.
Before
I feel
the
like,
lawsuit.
yeah.
Agreed.
How did we get to a lawsuit without the town knowing at all about this, this issue, and that this was something that was being considered by the select board, that this was something they wanted to pursue, in terms of an agricultural use.
Could
I
they have
wasn't
used
aware, I
that?
could have missed it, but in all the things that I watched
It's
and
going on
read.
for 2 years.
Well, it's been going
I
on
mean-
for almost 10. I mean, there have been conversations between the Beans and the Land Farm, and then once it went in front of the Conservation Commission, and they voted to enact, my understanding, they voted to enact, the agricultural provision. That was 2.5 years ago, and since then, I think it just kind of has run a course to then. So I know that there's been a lot of conversations going on, so it's been kind of a buildup. I don't know that there was any single event, though, that
Has it
said-
ever been identified what the benefit to the town is? That's what I think
Yeah, I
that
think
just
that's
hasn't been
reasonable, yeah.
articulated, and it's nothing against the bean farm, and I know that, the town takes action sometimes that does benefit a particular business, whether it's infrastructure or, but I feel like there's a public safety issue or a traffic, so that's what that I think has been lacking to me, that I haven't seen. Maybe I missed it, but what's the,
I mean, I think clearly there was a request by the Bean Farm that triggered the conversations that have now led to a point of disagreement in a contract.
Uh-huh.
And so that leading up to it, then it's like if any citizen came and there was an issue, and then the select board looked at it and said, okay, well, we think that's actually reasonable, and they went to take action on a contract that was in place that they felt gave them the right to do it. I think it's I believe that's what the select board is doing. It's the words matter in that particular CR, and that that's what the litigation is about. Not necessarily, the bean farm, Chris getting, this extra land farm. That just happens to be a trigger that is looking at the contract. Now, again, that's my macro view.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's emotions. I mean, amazing people on all sides of this
Yes.
issue, living in the same house, literally husbands and wives that disagree. And so, that's what the town is about, and coming here and talking about it.
I do think though being in person is
So much better.
is nice, because you could see the body language when Mary Ann said, we are trying to work together, and I respect Nancy Dempsey and Mary Ann. I know both of them very well, and I could see Nancy agreeing with Mary Ann, yes, we would like to come to some sort of agreement on the side. So maybe they come to something that resolves the issue, and it sounds like they can't really talk about it. But if when you're in person, you have the ability to sort of see that.
This is all great. Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Thank you all.
I will help give it attention.